Every February, NASCAR takes their cars to the world center of racing here at Daytona International Speedway to run the Great American Race. Tonight, we're going to throw it back, all the way back to 1987 for the Majors Series American Sportsman Division, round number 2, the 1987 Daytona 500. And I am joined here tonight by my broadcast partner, Ryan Williams. Ryan, how are you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing fantastic, Frank, and it's such a pleasure to be back here at the beautiful Daytona International Speedway. 500 miles is a long way in these 1987 cars, and this is going to be a true test to see who can hold out for 200 laps to bring home the victory tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. As you can see, we're keeping our race info up on the screen a little bit longer tonight because we are racing for a cause. Now, this was supposed to be, the reason why it's a 1987 Daytona 500 was because this is the 20-year anniversary just a couple days ago of the passing of Dale Earnhardt. Major Series decided to throw it back to 1987 to run those cars. But over these last couple of days here, we have found out that one member of the league that has been here for quite some time, a man by the name of John King, is currently battling stage 3 brain cancer right now and is not taken a turn for the better here recently. We will be having this hashtag up. We'll be doing a special thing, a special moment, a lap of silence, I should say, on lap 6 to honor him. And also, if you look in the YouTube chat, there is a link to a GoFundMe account to help the family with medical expenses. They're at a 10,000 euro goal right now, and I know with our 40 euro donation that we're going to be giving here tonight, they're going to be at just over 6,200 euro from that goal. So at any point during the race, please feel free to follow that link at the top of the description in our YouTube channel to try to help out a family in need for somebody who is a really, really great guy.
You know, Frank, it's always great to see anytime any of these iRacing communities, or even racing communities in general, anytime something bad happens to one that we love so much, the generosity of the community around them really, it sets your soul right in a way. And it's great to see that these guys have come together and raised over 6,000 euros so far, and hopefully they're well on their way to their goal.
Yeah, and they have done a fantastic job. We've had tributes both yesterday for the international race. We've had tributes today for the European race earlier on, and of course is for the 3 American races. They're going to be having tributes for them, for him there as well. So it is a great cause to just help a family in need. As I said, we're going to have a moment of a lap of silence on lap 6, which was his car number. So we're going to be doing that here for this race tonight. But as we tick down here in the practice session here, we've got 29 drivers that are going to be taking the track here tonight. These cars here are one heck of a car to drive around here. Within one lap, when these first came out, I think it was 2 builds ago,
Yes.
really made an impact on me just the first lap to just how difficult it is to drive these cars.
It really is. I mean, even especially at Daytona, you take these things into the turns anywhere from 220 to 240 miles an hour. Sometimes you're even doing that without the draft. And they have a bad tendency to want to push up the track, and they get real squirrely loose. So it's going to be interesting to see who's able to keep these cars under control for 200 laps of this puppy.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a test of driver skill. These things are low on downforce, very high on slip, and you'll see that throughout the course of the night. Another thing that we're not going to be seeing tonight is you're not going to be seeing a lot of bump drafting happening here tonight. These cars were around before that became a thing. The bumpers do line up here, but remember one key thing for these cars, no restrictor plates.
No restrictor plates is right, and although the draft will be a factor, you will be drafting each other, but there will hardly be any bumping at all. It's all really going to come down to driver skill and who can work their way around who at what time.
Yeah, the racing that we're seeing right now here is pretty much going to be what we're going to be seeing here for a majority of the race as far as cars racing around each other. We're not going to be seeing big pack racing here. There's going to be a lot of single file. There's going to be a lot of lines forming. Guys might take runs to the outside, try to block runs on the inside, but from what to expect, this is pretty much what you're seeing here.
But even with what we're seeing here, these guys are running blazing fast times in practice. Ozzie Milwane's up on top of the practice board with a 41.946, and that is very comparable of the cars that you see running today in NASCAR.
It absolutely is, and these guys are incredibly quick around these circuits. I think right now we'll take a quick little jump on board here, and we'll give you one of our cool little dashboard things here. Yep, that's 210 miles an hour, and you can see just how he gets in the wall there. That is not a safe or comfortable 210 miles an hour. That is a very tense 210 miles an hour. Oh! Yeah, that's not something you want to say.
It certainly isn't. And you can just imagine back in the day in these cars, no full containment seats, no Hans devices, how much that would have hurt somebody.
Yeah, those are incredibly hard hits. Now, one thing that is worth noting here, we do have 10 sets of tires to run here tonight. And thanks to you for reminding me, we do have one fast repair, so these guys do get one bogey, essentially, for this 200-lap race. Another thing worth noting, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
It's all good. I'll jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
As you were talking about the fast repairs, that fast repair, when you use it, is my one key to the race. You have to be smart about when you use your fast repair, because it could come back to bite you in a matter of seconds, because cautions here at Daytona, they could come regularly within every 5 or so laps, or they could be very, very spread out. But there could be that one time where we see 5 or 6 cautions within a span of 10 to 15 laps. When do you use your fast repair? That is the key tonight.
I remember now. It goes along with the fast repair. These cars, from what we've heard from drivers and from what I've learned and from what I'm sure what you've learned from driving these things are built like tanks. You can rub up against each other. You can rub up against the wall. So one thing you are going to have to look out for here tonight is whether or not you use a fast repair accidentally, because iRacing can trigger that, and that could really put you in a bind, especially late.
It's where a lot of these drivers who are crew chiefing for themselves will find that a little more difficult. I mean, if you have a crew chief in iRacing, they will be able to go in and view all of your pit road strategy ahead of time, and oftentimes they can go ahead and click that off. But if you're driving the race car and you forget about it and you accidentally use a fast repair, that's going to set you back an awful long ways coming to the end of this race.
It absolutely will. We have 1 minute and 40 seconds left here in this practice session for what is going to be a long but fun night here at Daytona. If you've never seen these cars race, it is an absolute treat. We're going to have plenty of in-car camera shots for you to see how these guys can work these cars. These are not like the Cup cars of today. You really have to drive and you really have to work these cars. A little bit of a audio glitch there, I believe. As we get down into the final minute here of this practice session, as Ryan had said, currently Ozzie Milwane sitting at the top of the timing pylon with a 41.95, the only driver that is in the 49-second bracket. Vince Harley currently sitting with the second fastest time at a 42.01. And then from there on, everybody else in this field down to 20th was Gerard Gilbert running a 42.99. Then beyond that, we have some guys in the 43 second bracket as we head into qualifying right about now is when we will make the jump over. And while these guys are getting set to go, would like to bring up our sponsors here tonight. DiecastNuts.com. DiecastNuts.com is a community site for people who love diecast. Whether you want to post your collection, view other members' collections, or buy or trade to add to your own collection, Diecast Nuts is the #1 place to go. Other automotive memorabilia is available as well at diecastnuts.com. That's nuts with a Z, diecastnuts.com. As we have cars jumping out onto track right now to take their qualifying times. We're also sponsored tonight by Rocket Racing Setups. Rocket Racing Setups is quickly becoming one of the lead setup builders for the iRacing community. If you need a proven race winner for your league or your run to the to an official season championship, Rocket Racing Setups is where you need to go. They offer both dirt and asphalt setups along with setup adjustment guides and precise fuel sheets with the ability to request custom setups and one-on-one coaching. If you want to build your own, Rocket Racing Setups is really difficult to beat for the price. So we are about to take on qualifying here. So each driver should get... Oh, sorry, go ahead. There we go, we got you back.
I'm sorry, there did not mean to cut you off. We got a few drivers here on the track, including Jason McFadden, Spencer Todd's on the track, David Gargano Jr. Looks like just about everybody's on the track. We're going to see some qualifying times coming in here very soon. I don't know, Frank. I'm expecting to see some high 41s, maybe even some mid 41s out of this group.
Yeah, certainly. Could definitely be in that timing slot as we see the 119. That is Jason McFadden on track right now in one of the Fords. First times are coming in. David Gargano Jr. in that number 42 puts it on pole thus far with a 42.57. And immediately topped by Bryson Shute with a 42.43.
Not exactly the times that I was hoping to see out of these guys so far, but they could get faster on this second lap. A little bobble there from David Gargano Jr. as he's looking to reclaim his top spot off of 4 coming around. But Bryson Shute still remains your top spot. Oh, taken over by Ethan Osowski right there in that 33 car.
Gargano will maintain his 6th position. There is the current pole sitter, Ethan Osowski, in the 033. Bryson Shute jumps up into the 2nd position on track right now. We're looking at Kyle Hendricks in the 16. Running a special paint scheme for John tonight. We pretty much stuck on him during practice.
He sets fast time.
Yep, certainly does. We're going to see it a lot on a lot of these cars here. A lot of that hashtag racing for John tonight. As Hendricks goes to the top. Right now, Ozzie Milwane, who was the fastest car in the practice session, currently 10th, crossing the line to complete his 2nd lap, and he will jump up to P3. So a nice lap for him as we now look to Chris Sherburne.
Sherburne into turn number 3. Looks like on his final lap, his first lap was a 43.851. Let's see if he's a little bit quicker this time. Down the front straightaway he comes. No new times are coming in. It's still Kyle Hendricks on top. Will Sherburne take it here at the line? Not quite. He stays 14th quick at a 43.765.
And these things are not like qualifying. As we've already mentioned, and we're going to keep beating it to death all night long. This is not like qualifying a regular Cup car around here. As we take a look at Vince Harley, driver of the number 95. Chevy Monte Carlo, setting up for his first lap. Stephen Paulison about to start his first lap in the 3:22. And if you're looking down at the bottom, if you're not familiar with open wheel racing and the way we would read the graph down there on the bottom, green bar there means a personal best in a sector. There's 2 sectors around Daytona. Yellow is slower than your personal best as Harley jumps up to P10, and then purple is fastest of all. Right now, Paulison is on a personal best, as he would be, just about to complete his first lap in that 3:22, and Paulison will go to 13th. Look now back to Vince Harley. Just Harley and Paulison on track right now. Robert Covey about to begin his qualifying time. Is a big mistake there, a big slide by the driver of the 95, Vince Harley. That is going to kill this second lap for him. Boy, you can see just how much the back end moves out for Paulison.
And that's exactly what we were trying to key in on a little while ago when we talked about it. These cars get scary loose in the corners. They like to push up, and then the front half snaps around, and sometimes you just can't save them from going around.
And Paulison puts in a time that is good enough for 7th quickest. Robert Covey is on a flying lap right now, going for 3rd place. And I will say, going for the pole, I would hope, as Covey's on a personal best. Coming into the tri-oval, Covey will sit in 14th on his first lap. Mark Mcfadden on track, about to start his first lap. The only other driver on track. But one thing that the Major Series certainly did do to help these guys is they're on the newer version of Daytona, not the old layout of Daytona with all the bumps and ridges. So that should really help the quality of racing here tonight.
It really should. It'll take us from a rather bumpy 200 laps to hopefully a smooth, calm, steady 200 laps with lots of amazing racing action. As you see Robert Covey off of turn number 4, he's going to take his second lap. This one looks about just as good as the first one, but he doesn't improve his spot, but he improves his time to a 43.155.
So there is Covey's qualifying lap done. Mark Mcfadden pulled it in, so he will not begin his qualifying time. 2.5 minutes to go here in this qualifying session, and Kyle Hendricks right now currently sits atop the leaderboard at a 42.206. A very good time, especially for somebody who was not in the draft.
That it was. See, I went in with high expectations, hoping we could get into those high 41s, like a 41.9 or so, but didn't quite fulfill me, but still some really good times. As you see your leader there with a 42.206. Spencer Todd awful close to him as well. All these times seem super close when we get into green flag racing here a little bit later on.
Yeah, certainly is. We got about 1.5 minutes left here in this qualifying session before we get going here for tonight's race. Would like to remind you that the next round for the Majors Series will be coming up on the 14th day of March, at least for the American Series. It will be, I believe, after today, they will be splitting off to where International will be running a different race from European. European will be running a different race from the U.S. But on March 14th, it will be the 1979 Lotus Grand Prix of Long Beach for the American Series. 80 laps around the Long Beach circuit in the 1979 Lotus Formula One cars. That is going to be one hell of a show.
It's going to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait to hopefully be there, at least see it. That's going to be a joy to watch.
It certainly is. The two other races that are going to be going on that day is going to be 2 hours at Bathurst for the international group. And for the European group, it'll be Masters of Formula 3 at Zolder, if you want to watch those races as well. But the American Series and us here on ESPN, we will be at Long Beach, California. Way back, boy, we thought going back to 1987 was going to be a walk back. We're going all the way back to 1979 on the 14th.
I can't wait. Strap me in the time machine. Let's go.
Certainly going to be a fun day as qualifying now comes to a close, and we will now bring you the starting lineup for the 1987 Daytona 500 second round for the Majors Series this season. Starting on the pole, it'll be Kyle Hendricks and Spencer Todd will round out the front row. Ozzie Milwane and Ethan Oswowski will make up row number 2. Row 3 will be Bryson Chute and Brian Halleck. Row 4 will go to Stephen Paulison and Joey Haynes. Tyler Burris and Justin Garrick will make up row number 5. Row 6 going to Vince Harley and David Gargano Jr. Row 7 will go to Matt Gelder. Robert Covey will make up row 7. Row 8 will go to Jason Mcfadden and Casey Sawtek. And Ryan, take us the rest of the way, bud.
Rolling off 17 will be Chris Sherburne. Rolling off 18th will be Joshua Mertz. And rolling off 19th will be Mark McFadden. To his outside, you have Robert Deloche. Next row back, you find Maurice Gomillion and Gerard Gilbert. Next row back, we'll see Michael Lane alongside Gustavo Sienforini. Rolling off 25th will be Robert Gambill. 26th will be Brian Scrivener. 27 looks like Rob Courtney. Following him will be the last row of Greg McAnini and Joseph M. Homan.
So that will be the starting grid here for tonight's race. An event that is going to be quite entertaining from the word go here tonight. It is going to be an incredibly fun day of racing here for the Majors Series tonight. Cannot wait to get it going. We're going to have one pace lap here before we get on to green flag racing for what is going to be a very fun, very wild night.
Yes, it sure will. And I just want to take a minute to look towards the back of this starting grid. You have a lot of guys who did not take a time during qualifying. Are they all trying to pull a little bit of strategy here, saying, okay, it's going to be wild early. We want to stay towards the back and be in this thing later on?
That certainly would not be a bad decision. Oh, they're already wrecking here. The 033, Ozzie Milwane, Joey Haynes, Steve Paulison have already had an issue.
I told you the action will be hot and heavy from the go, and I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, no, you weren't. I wonder what happened here. We'll take a look back. That's the 113 already around. And this is putting some guys in a bad spot because now, I mean, we might have guys taking fast repairs here before the race even starts.
That's a worst come to worst situation, but for most of the guys involved, it looks like not much damage was taken, but no worse way to start a race than to crash before you even take the green flag.
Now we're back in order here, so we're not going to be delaying this opening start here, but you can see the damage on Ozzie Milwane's 113 down on the inside of the second row there. That's some pretty significant front end damage. Wouldn't be surprised if that slows him up, but he does have that fast repair that he can take. As we get set to go. Green flag racing here. 200 laps for the 1987 Daytona 500. We are underway.
Got dueling 16s up top. If you look at the cars, Kyle Hendricks is going to lead us into turn one. We've got 2x2x2 action all the way back from about 5th place on back.
And wouldn't you know it, the two guys that had the spin there out of the second row not getting the greatest of starts here, as a little bit of shuffling going on, and that 113 of Ozzie Milwane really having a difficult time getting through, trying to find a lane that's not going to put him in any trouble. Look at the damage on that car.
A lot of sparks flying early off these cars, getting a little sideways. Steve Paulson in that 322 going to lead this second pack, including Ozzie in the 113 as he continues to just fall back further and further.
Yeah, so there is something significantly wrong with that 113 of Ozzie Milwane as we get set to begin lap number 2 here. Kyle Hendricks, Spencer Todd, Ethan Oswowski, Brian Halleck, Joey Haynes, and Justin Garrick pretty much in this front group here, as there goes the 338 of Joey Haynes looking to the inside of Halleck, looking for that 4th position.
Looks like he's going to give way midway through the turn and let that 3 car get back in front and just kind of settle down here as we're working into lap number 3. No real juking and jiving from anybody so far. They're going to settle out and hopefully get some laps run here.
Oh, certainly that you do not want to put yourself in a bad situation here early. And again, this is what we're going to be expecting here for a vast majority of this race. A lot of single file racing, not the pack bump drafting style racing that we're used to seeing around here and at Talladega in NASCAR nowadays. This is going to be single file, follow the leader.
One piece of action I see happening on the racetrack, the 999 of Joseph Homan just got around that 48 of Robert Gamble. Other than that, not too much happening on the track right now. That 113 is getting pressured again by another car. He just can't catch a break right now.
No, he certainly cannot. That's Michael Lane in the 62 that is going past him right now, or trying to, and there is the 999 of Joseph Holman, and that is, unfortunately, that is going to be fast repair worthy damage here on that 113 this early.
Hopefully not quite fast repair. Hopefully he only has a couple of seconds of optional repair to get that car back the way he wants it. I mean, it would be so terrible to use a fast repair 10 or so laps into this race.
It certainly would be, in a little bit of a peak under for Spencer Todd. Not really close enough to do much of anything. But as we work lap 5 here, we're going to take a moment. Oh, a big slide from the 338. Wow, Joey Haynes. Big save for him in the top 5.
Tremendous save by Haynes, but now he's going to be pressured by the 42 and the 31. That could be very costly, even this early on.
Yep, it certainly can be, but as we work through turns 3 and 4, we are going to take our lap of silence now for John King, driver of the number 6, winner of the 2018 Daytona 500. Please join us in a lap of silence. Thank you very much for that, and joining us in that as the caution has come out here for an incident up towards the front of the field here in this front group, as it looks like Bryson Chute has had a little bit of an issue. Same thing with David Gargano in the number 42. You can see a little bit of front end damage on that 42 of Gargano. We'll take a look back here and see what the cause of this caution was here.
It looked to me as if the 42 of Gargano just overshot the exit of the corner slightly. Car skidded up into the outside wall, and he was closely followed by Chute, and they both made contact with each other, and both subsequently went around.
And you could see that you saw them both in the wall, and then the incident coming back. And now that's not someone taking a swipe at somebody else. These cars, once you get these cars into the wall, it is very, very difficult to get these cars off of the wall and pointed straight. So that, unfortunately, for both Paulison and for Gargano, this is a situation where just a little too early, not really trying to race all that much, and you got damaged race cars.
It's absolutely correct, and this is one of those key moments for Gargano and the others involved in that caution. Are they going to go ahead and burn their fast repairs? We keep keying on the fast repairs, but it will play a factor later on in this race.
It certainly should, as we, again, 10 sets of tires here tonight could wreak havoc on who decides to pit when, as Kyle Hendricks right now at the front of this field. Some of the guys with damage you would expect to come in. The 95 is going to be the first of the cars going on to pit lane. That is Vince Harley. Bryson Chute and Joey Haynes following into pit road with him. David Gargano in to fix damage, and then pretty much the entire second half of this field taking it pit side.
And it looks like now, even with this first pit stop, Ozzie Milwane had already fallen back into the mid-20s of this race. He's going to come in and try to fix his damage from that earlier on incident before we even went green.
There is Ozzie Milwane in the 113. There is the nose popping out. That is your fast repair taken here at lap 10. Not something you want to see if you are the driver of the 113. And you can see that Racing for John hashtag on the back bumper for that 113.
So there, his strategy now is going to be hoping and praying that there aren't any more big pileups that he somehow gets involved in. It's a sketchy game playing with these 1-2 fast repair races, because when are you going to use them is probably the biggest question that will never be solved.
It certainly is. And I mean, it depends on the situation, but the 033 of Ozowski, he was fine. At the start of this race, was able to keep up his pace. You see that front end of his car not looking the absolute greatest on that 033, but he was able to keep that pace, something that the 113 was not able to do.
In my eyes, the 033 of Ethan Osowski, he's just putting new meaning to the term built for tough.
Yeah, that's to that point, yes. As we get set to go back to green flag racing here. Now, we are racing with 1987 rules, so there will be no green-white checkers here tonight, and it will be single-file restarts, lap cars to the inside.
Yes.
Here tonight. Only passing is allowed on the outside prior to the start-finish line. So right now it'll be Kyle Hendricks, Spencer Todd, Ethan Osowski, Brian Halleck, and Justin Garrick will be your top 5 here. Robert Covey, Stephen Paulison, Taylor Burris, Casey Sautic, and Matt Gelder rounding out the top 5. The first driver out of pit road that came into pit, that is Vince Harley in the number 95. You see that Irish flag at the front. Currently running in the 14th position. So from 14th on back, fresh tires and a full load of fuel. And we talk about it so much. Fresh tires don't really mean much at Daytona and Talladega anymore. This era, they certainly do.
They certainly will, and you're going to see him be slightly faster than the people around him. But by the time he would make it back up to the front, are they going to play that much of a factor to where he's able to get into the lead?
That could certainly be one. That is certainly one of the bigger questions here. That one question that you want answered early on in the race. As the pace car ducks on off, Kyle Hendricks leads them away. We are back to green flag racing here, working lap 11 of 200 here for round 2.
What a jump by Hendricks. He's up over 2 car lengths over everybody else, and that lead right now looks to be gaining as Spencer Todd just not up to the task of catching Hendricks off the start.
And you can see it's Spencer Todd holding up the rest of this group here. The way the gearing is on these cars, it is a very difficult start for these 1987 cars. First gear is just too long to start, and second gear feels just too short to be able to restart in. Some of the guys that you can find in the middle of the pack is Taylor Burris is making a move right now around the outside of Stephen Paulison. That is for the 7th position. Some of the guys you see get the better jumps. One either will have control on the restart, or two will be able or are able to start in first gear and not over rev the car.
That's one of the keys to driving these older vehicles, well, these older cars in general with the gearing. And it looks like on that jump, your leader, Kyle Hendricks, got everybody else. He may have started a gear lower, he may have been a gear higher, but he definitely got the jump. As we look back to the 13th and 12th position, the 95 of Vince Harley gets around that 119 of Jason McFadden, and he could be putting those fresh tires to good work here.
Yep, he looks a lot more stable than the cars around him. Harley is still the first car on fresh tires. There is the 113 as well. Oh, pardon me, that's the 338 of Joey Haynes. My apologies. As Haynes trying to follow him through. Mark Mcfadden in the 00 there. Jason McFadden right behind him. As again, seeing a lot of single car runs. Guys trying to use that draft to not really work a groove, but to try to just suck up and get around the person in front of them.
That's exactly correct. As you see two teammates, the 69 and the 999, they're starting to fall back. Harley has made his way around them. He slides a little bit off the corner, but that 95 is charging hard to the front at this very moment.
Yeah, they certainly are, both making a move. Joseph Homan up 15 positions from where he started, by far and away the biggest mover of the race so far. Robert Covey in the 72. Currently running in the 6th position, up 8 positions from where he started. There you see him, 6th car in line there in the 72. Is looking a little bit further back. Still Vince Harley now getting under that 27, and you can just see how much these cars push up in the middle of these corners.
The tire wear plays a major factor in that. We've only gone 14, make it 15 laps at the line. But those tires are already starting to break down and won't hold as much traction in the corners, which is why I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Vince Harley was very, very smart to take tires this early.
It certainly looks as though. Again, it's 10 tire sets here for 200 laps here tonight. We'll look back a little bit further in the field. That is the 113. That is Ozzie Milwane, currently running in the 20th position, trying to get back up to the front where he was prior to that incident on the start. He has Robert Courtney in front of him. David Gargano, who was involved in that last caution in the 42, is sitting right there. Did not take a fast repair. You can still see some of that nose damage on the front end of the 42.
And if you take a look back up at the front of the field, we have a battle brewing for 4th place. Justin Garrick made his way around Brian Halleck for that 4th position. Halleck has made his way back around, and now that 31 seems to want to fade back to about 7th position here as the 45 of Taylor Burris gets a run on him down the back straightaway.
We're riding on board with Burris, and you can see a little bit of right front damage on that number 45. It's not going to shrug it off too much, but you can just hear the tires crying as he heads through the corner, trying to get the car to the inside here. And you can see the interior of these cars look a lot different. I can't remember the last time I saw a standard car now with a fan blowing air onto his feet, as we have a caution here, caution number 2 of the night.
go back and look and see if we can determine just what that caution was for here really quickly.
Bryson shooting the the 002. From what I'm seeing here. Take a look back. It was the incident the group we were just looking at. Oh, pardon me, this is the first incident, my bad. That's my apologies. Jason Mcfadden is the one here for the caution here. You can see just, boy, two cars both doing the same thing coming out of turn 4. Hitting that wall hard, and Mcfadden, unfortunately, was the one that caught it the worst. Try to get a better look at it. This one just goes pirouetting down that short chute going into the tri-oval. And that will be the cause of caution number 2. And there's the group we were looking at just prior to going back up to the front of the field, getting by. So this was a mid-pack incident for these guys.
And from what we've seen these past 2 cautions, that's going to be probably the killer for most of these cars this entire race. Coming out of the corners, letting that car push up, but not quite as far as Jason Mcfadden did, as he did the exact same thing that happened on the previous caution. Caught that outside wall and just couldn't retain the car inside the groove.
Yeah, these cars do get a very wicked push coming out of these corners. That's almost too difficult to maintain in some points. And that 119, the push out of turn 4 is absolutely horrendous, and he just fell victim to it.
And if you take a look at his car now, heavy damage on the backside of this car as he will pull in, come to pit road, possibly take his fast repair, and he's going to be joined by a hefty group of competitors on pit road.
It certainly is. Justin Garrick in the 117. Boy, oh boy. I was looking at Chris Sherburne in the 135. Justin Garrick in the 31 is going to be the first car on to pit road. And
what I'm finding... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
So what I'm finding interesting right now, Vince Harley, 2 cautions in a row, 2 sets of tires.
Yep, I was just about to mention that. Harley, the 95, first car off of pit road there. Only a 9-second pit stop, so that might be 2 tires and fuel, I would have to imagine.
That's what I'm thinking now as well. Haven't heard the word from his crew, but it looks like it was just 2 tires.
Yeah, it certainly does. Is still top group of cars have not pit yet, so it's still Kyle Hendricks, Spencer Todd, Ethan Osowski, Brian Halleck, and Robert Covey up in the top 5 here. Working lap 19 of 200 here for the Daytona 500.
We haven't done much talking about it yet, but how about the run we've seen from the 16 of Kyle Hendricks so far? Has been out front from the get-go of this race, debuting a brand new paint scheme. So this is the perfect way to bring it into the spotlight, being up front here at the Daytona 500.
Yep, certainly is Hendricks in that number 16, showing 15 on the side, and that's kind of concerning me, because if that's a tribute scheme, I want to make sure it's the right one. We might have to make a quick restart of trading paints here at some point if that's not the right one, as we are getting set to go back to green flag racing here at the end of this lap.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say it is the right one, because that is the one that he announced earlier today. It's the same paint scheme, so we should be good.
Thank goodness. Looking back on the recovery of Ozzie Milwayne, there he is in the 113. Currently sitting in the 14th position. Now, he did not come into pit on this round of caution, on this caution flag round of pit stops. So he has moved himself up just a little bit, and you can see a lot of teams here starting to work their way towards the back of the field. Those Forge Racing team cars of the three. I'm sorry, I'm losing numbers here. My apologies. This has been a rough start.
The 3033.
Yes,
and
that's what I was looking for.
I believe there is one more, and I can't quite find
one
them
more.
at the
It's a
moment.
couple cars behind them. I know that. But a lot of team cars
44.
trying to get 44. A lot of these team cars are starting to find each other and trying to work together with each other as the pace car ducks on off. Here we go. Back to green flag racing here. Lap 21 of 200. A nice view of the start.
Kyle Hendricks once again gets that exact same run off the start, leaving the 15 in the dust. He's off by about 8, 9, 10 car lengths at this point. He's just staying out front so well, putting new name to the word tribute scheme and leading this race like he is.
Yep, certainly is. As we take a look, these are three of the team cars that we are watching. Chris Sherburne in the 135, the 62 of Michael Lane and Robert Gamble. Those guys for Sector 5 working together. They do have one more teammate up a little bit further. I believe that's Steve Paulison. It is. Hey, finally got something right. As Paulison working with Mark Mcfadden in the 00 under him, that being for the 8th position. Mcfadden has the spot.
Looks like that 135 of Chris Sherburne, he was going to duck low and let Ozzie Milwane and that 95 of Vince Harley around him, but deciding not to. He's staying a little bit out front of his teammates, continuing to let Ozzie Milwane and Vince Harley ruin their little teammate party, as now he ducks to the outside trying to collect his group.
Yep, as he starts to slide back now, there is that 113 of Ozzie Milwane, as you had mentioned. Nothing going on up at the front, still maintaining the same order. Matt Gelder getting around the 62 of Michael Lane, splitting the Sector 5 cars up. Now is Chris Sherburne in front of him. Stephen Paulison, the lead Sector 5 car, there he is, running up in the 9th position, as battling around the 5th spot here. We've got a decent little battle as Taylor Burris in that 45, Robert Covey in the 72, getting a little wobbly down the back straightaway.
It was a big surge out of Burris, and then Covey got a little bit wobbly and ruined the entire run for that 45. A beautiful paint scheme on that 45. Reminds me a lot of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I think that's going to be my sentimental favorite in this race.
Well, there you go. It's always nice. We had a bunch of sentimental favorites on Friday. Another series that we broadcast, the Circle B Diecast series, running the old ARCA cars, and a lot of guys brought out like late 90s, early 2000s paint schemes. So that was a lot of fun to see those cars back out on track and memories reforming, as there goes the 72 of Covey around Brian Halleck.
And up front, it looks like that 033, the forge car of Ethan Osowski, has completely deserted his teammate. Now working with that number 15 car of Spencer Todd, as they're mounting a charge towards your leader, Kyle Hendricks.
Osowski has had that damage again, has not come into pit to fix that damage from the accident at the pace lap at the beginning of the race. So that damage has not affected him at all. Able to stay up to the front. You can see, Tyler Burris really pushing that number 45 on the outside. You saw how close to the wall he got coming out of 2, coming under pressure from Mark Mcfadden in the 00.
And we're staying up here at the front with myself. Right now, I'm looking at how much different these cars drive than the cars of today. Because normally you'd see the leader wouldn't be able to get away from anybody. But right now, Hendricks has maintained his lead by multiple car lengths. And that shows you just how different it was to drive one of these cars rather than relying on the cars of today with all the aero and other things that you take into account.
Certainly. And Spencer Todd now starting to fall to the back of this group here. Was in second. Osowski got under him for that second position, and from there he has started to fall backwards. Mcfadden about to jump into the top 6 here in that 00. The 15 of Todd is now going to have a little bit of a lane to get under. To get back in line. He does. So that is our first really big shakeup in the top 5 as Spencer Todd started in second, now gets shuffled out by Ethan Osowski up and now falls back into the 7th position.
That he does, and right now doesn't look to be mounting a charge as of yet. He might just hang around there for a while. I mean, we've still got 123 laps to go. There's 173 laps to go. I'm sorry. 173. my math's all over the place. I am so sorry, but yeah.
I told you on Monday, this one thing at ESPN, none of us are good at math, so you're good.
Hey, that's good to know. I'm gonna stick around for a while just because of that fact. But we do have a battle up towards the front. You see that those Forge racing cars, they're trying to get with each other as now they want to form the outside lane, but that 3 car, he just can't get up there with him. There he goes, shooting the outside. 338 up into the wall, and he falls all the way back.
Yeah, Brian Halleck took a big hit to that wall coming through 1 and 2. You saw the big push up that was Joey Haynes in the 338. We'll get a look at that here in just a second, but that was a big hit that the 3 of Brian Halleck took.
That could play a very, very big factor in the remaining laps of this race because now Ethan Osowski, no teammate help anywhere around him.
No, certainly not. Boy, Haynes took a big hit to that wall, and that 038 looks good. And another thing that did is, boy, you see just there at the back of the screen, the 95 of Vince Harley getting way out of shape coming out of turn 2. Another thing that did was not just knock the 3 of Halleck way back, but that also broke that front group up. What was 7 or 8 cars is now about one group of 3, a solo, and then a group of about 3 or 4.
That's exactly right. It's going to spread this field out as we've grown accustomed to seeing with these cars. But you look at let's see who we got here. The 235 of Robert DeLoach has found another one of his teammates in the 44 of Maurice Gomillion. There's 2 more Forged cars. If all 4 of these Forged cars can find each other, they might be a force to be reckoned with.
Something interesting about Maurice Gomillion in the 44, he is the only Forge driver that is a Chevrolet. The other 3 are Fords. So that could be something to keep an eye on a little bit later on as to who would probably be better at leading a charge. Would it be one of the Fords or would it be that one lone Chevrolet?
I don't know who their team owner is, but I think I want to have a talk with him after that.
Yeah, why would the other 3 be Fords? It should be the
exactly.
one Chevrolet. As Taylor Burris, Taylor Burris has had a big slide and a big stop here, and he is really going to sort this field out.
Big incident there. Big incident for Burris. All up in the wall after looking like almost spinning and practically saving that car from disaster.
Yeah, we're going to get to it here in just a second. There is Burris right there. We're going to go a little bit further back here to see if we can see exactly what happened to Taylor Burris. Here he is coming through 1. Maybe Spencer Todd might have something to do with this. Nope, just too much power, and that's something you're going to have to do here. You are going to have to let off on corner entry. Otherwise, exactly that will happen.
Going into corners at 220 miles an hour is a scary thing, and sometimes all 4 of those wheels just don't catch traction at the same time, and that's when things like that happen. Luckily, Spencer Todd and other cars in the area were able to get around him with no incident.
It certainly was a very lucky escape there for those guys, as Burris now is going to be well underpowered as we continue to move our way forward here. It's a 4-car pack now up here at the front, and that incident with Taylor Burris has forced this second pack back even farther. Mark Mcfadden leading this second group in that 00 about 5.5, almost 6 seconds
Big
behind
slide
the
from
top
Covey.
guys. Yep, there's Covey. Oh, he still doesn't have it saved. There we go. Now he's got it sorted out.
As we get further and further into this green flag run, you're going to be seeing a lot of that through the corners here. Covey lucky to save it there as he falls back into the 4th position, and now your front 4 evenly spread out.
Yep, they absolutely are. There is the 15 of Kyle Hendricks, has a 1.2 second lead now over the 0.33 of Ethan Osowski. Then it's another 2 seconds back to Joey Haynes, and then about a second back to Robert Covey in that top 5. And now that 6-second gap that we were just talking about a moment ago is now down to 3 to Mark Mcfadden.
And if you look at the second pack there, Mcfadden getting passed for the lead of that pack, actually, by Matt Gelder in the 69. Gelder got a run into turn number 3 and made the pass completely in the turn. Just kept it calm, steady, and collected on the bottom. And now he's leading your second pack run in 5th position.
It certainly does. And that 95 of Vince Harley looking to the inside of Mark Mcfadden as well. Mcfadden has nothing to do but give up the spot. Spencer Todd with Ozzie Milwane and Stephen Paulison right behind him as we have a 7-car second pack here forming, or 6-car second pack forming here, sorry. As now that pack has been shuffled up, keeping a straight line. You could probably catch these guys because, again, they're pretty much all just stragglers here as Joey Haynes and Robert Covey have caught back up to each other. Now have 2.5 seconds to make up to get up to second place.
If you look at that 15 of Spencer Todd, currently pretty significant damage on the back, on the left rear of that 15 machine. Will that play a factor in the rest of his race? Right now seems to be holding it steady, but not going far anytime soon.
Certainly not. And we are going to be getting close to green flag pit stops here. There are a couple of drivers. There's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers that have not come into pit yet on either one of the pit stops, including the top 3 of Hendricks, Osowski, and Covey. So those guys are all going to need to come in here at some point here very, very soon to make that first green flag pit stop. Then about 10 laps later, we'll expect the group that came in on the first caution, not the second. Then another 10 laps, if we're able to stay green that long, we're going to be seeing the third group that came in under the second caution.
Right now, it looks like those upcoming green flag pit stops play right into the hand of Vince Harley, who's already pitted twice. He might be able to stay out a little bit longer than most of his competitors on the track.
Vince Harley came into pit on both of those pit stops. The 69 of Matt Gelder, who is to his inside, has only come in once, but he came in on that second caution in the 69. So right now, taking Joey Haynes out of the equation, Haynes came into pit on lap 8, as you see on the graphic there. The top 3 guys, and I believe that was the 45 on the inside there causing a bit of a disturbance, and again, further breaks that group up.
You saw there the 69 of Gelder just got a little sideways. He shot down to the inside and he pulled back up, but now he's lost that pack that he was in by about 2 to 3 seconds. Big mishap for the 69 of Gelder.
There you see Gelder gets on that apron in the tri-oval. And in these cars, you do not have the downforce in these cars that you would in a current Cup car. So while it may still hurt you in a current Cup car, it is devastating in one of these cars. So we're looking a little bit further back here. There's a group now that's catching this number 69 of Matt Gelder, led by the 27, who's currently having a little bit of internet connection issues on that outside line. That is David Gargano, who was the cause of the first caution. Now coming up, Gargano has recovered into what would now be the 11th position with that 3 of Brian Halleck, who we saw get body slammed into the wall about 10 laps ago. Doesn't appear to have hurt that number 3 too much, just lost time on track.
It does not appear to have hurt him all that much as he's trying to make this charge with that 42 of Gargano, as this second pack quickly catching that 69 car of Gelder, Boy, I hope Gelder's okay after that slide he took, though.
Yeah, Gelder right up here, just coming out of turn 2 in that number 69. Stephen Paulison about a second ahead of him. Gelder actually catching Stephen Paulison, and that's another characteristic of these cars. Because there is no restrictor plate on these cars, you can actually be more effective riding solo than you are riding in a pack, because in a pack you're going to have to let off, you're going to have to brake, you're going to have to move around to try to keep from hitting the car in front of you or getting aero push off of the car in front of you. The 69 was able to just drive right up as he's driving solo, doesn't have anyone around him to bother him.
Exactly your point. The biggest example of that so far in this race has to be Kyle Hendricks out front by over 2 seconds, riding solo, just commanding this entire field. But you look at the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th. Vince Arley looks back to the outside of Ozzie Milwane, but Milwane right now looks to be making his charge back up to the front after his earlier incidents.
Yep, that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th is about to be a battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, because Kyle Hendricks, Ethan Ozowski is in, Robert Covey is in, Mark Mcfadden into pit road as well. So those leaders, as we said, expect Spencer Todd in the 15 in here rather soon, Stephen Paulison, Brian Halleck, Casey Sawtek in the 27. Those guys have not yet pit. Expect those guys to be coming in here momentarily, if not this lap.
Looks like your currently scored leader, Joey Haynes. He's not going to pit this time, so he's going to continue to lead this race. But the rest of the field starting to trickle down pit road. How much longer can Haynes stay out in that beautiful, bright orange 338?
Spencer Todd coming in, Halleck coming in, the 27 of Sawtek in to pit road. Only driver on track right now that has not come into pit at least once is this man, the 322 of Stephen Paulison. That is the only driver on track that has not come into pit road yet. This is your leader, Joey Haynes, in the 338, and he's not far away from green flag pit stops either, having come in on lap 8. So probably around 50, about quarter distance, we would be expecting to see Haynes in pit road.
That could do very well for Haynes, as right now he's putting your former leader, Kyle Hendricks, a lap down. So will he be able to now run a couple laps, put a couple more guys a lap down to set himself up for a better outcome after his green flag pit stops?
A caution right now for that 16 of Hendricks would be absolutely devastating, as now he's going to try to get that lap back the old-fashioned way. A little bit better tires for that number 16 of Hendricks. Hendricks will take to the outside, and he is going to be able to keep that momentum up, as I think Steve Paulison may have had an issue coming into pit road. As boy, getting close there is that 338. Let's take a look at Stephen Paulison's entrance into pit road if we can. It is not showing what happened with Paulison, unfortunately. It showed he's jumped to the pits. That would typically mean he spun going into pit entry. Well, now here's Paulison, so it appears as though he's fine.
Just a little low entering the pits there.
Okay, so that was the issue.
I believe so. He's back out on the track, but for your leader in that 338, Joey Haynes, he's made one good decision of letting that 15 car of Kyle Hendricks just go on by. If I was him, I wouldn't push him too hard here. I would conserve what you have and try to make it as far as you can before you have to pit under green.
It certainly is, as Haynes is leading the race. He is not leading this group. That is Hendricks up at the front of this group. The 4 cars that are there are for position. That is Ozzie Milwane in the 113, the 95 of Vince Harley, and Matt Gelder has managed to work his way back up into this group. So Joey Haynes will now put Hendricks a lap down again, as Haynes, Milwane, and Sherburne, who is leading the second group of cars that we saw the 332 come out in, those guys are going to start thinking about pit stops as well. As you can see, a big wiggle by the 338 in the middle of 1 and 2.
The 338 currently is in a fantastic position, though. If he can keep that 15 of Hendricks to his outside and not allow cars up there, as you see the 95 does, if he can keep them out there away from him and behind that 15, it'll keep him in the lead. But right now, the 95 of Vince Harley has said, okay, you want to play that game? We'll play it too. And he looks like he might be coming around for the lead.
We're riding on board with Ozzie Milwane right now. What we're going to do is we're going to put some new technology in an old car. We're going to go with the Gyro Cam here just to show you not only how difficult it is for these drivers as you watch him work, but look at how steep the banking is here at a track like Daytona. That's a lot of force going not just to the car, but to those tires as well.
It certainly is. These things are an absolute treat to drive, but they are a handful anytime you get in them. As you see now, that 15, he's going to go ahead and take a few spots behind. He's going to fall all the way back behind the 69, so he is currently 1 lap down. A caution right now would absolutely devastate driver 15.
Yep, certainly would, as he's now fallen to the back of this front group. So the top 4 in this group are running for position. Hendricks at the back of this front group is currently 1 lap down. The leader of the second group of cars, as we now have a battle for the lead, as there goes Vince Harley to the inside. The 338 allows the room, and now the 338 goes from leading this group to 4th in the blink of an eye.
Certainly did. As Ozzie Milwane's your new leader. We talk about a fellow who had a little bit of trouble earlier, that 69 of Matt Gelder. He is completely rebounded, currently riding in 3rd. He's going to shoot down to the inside, but he's going to keep his position. What a rebound from that 69 from his earlier mistake.
Yep, certainly. And that 113, again, that 113 of Milwane has used his fast repair already after an incident right as we were gridding. So that's also a big recovery for him, as well as now Hendricks working under the 69 of Matt Gelder. Going back, though, to that second group, you have to look 12 seconds backwards in order to find the start of the next group here. That black and green number 42 of David Gargano is the leader of that group as far as position. Remember, the 033 and the 72 had not come into pit road at all during the race, have come into pit road, and now, speaking of coming into pit road, Ozzie Milwane and Joey Haynes hit pit road at lap 50.
That's exactly right. Ozzie Milwane kind of got tired, must have gotten tired of racing with that 338 of Joey Haynes. He said, hey man, let's just go to pit road, settle this down for a minute, and get right back at it in about 20 seconds.
The next 3 cars that we're going to be seeing coming into pit road, we would have to assume, are the 3 Sector 5 cars that you see on screen right now. Chris Sherburne, Michael Lane, and Robert Gamble. As you see them riding rather low down the back straightaway, that's typically the signal, hey, we're coming in this time. Again, those are also drivers that came in on lap 8. The last 3 drivers to come in on lap 8, and right on cue into pit road.
As they head down pit road, we take a look at this. So far, the smartest man in this race, Vince Harley. He's stayed out so far. Well, of course, besides the 2 times that he pitted, he stayed out this entire green flag run, hasn't pitted yet, and he continues to have that 15 car. Oh, 95. The announcer's curse almost struck, and I'm going to stop talking about him before something happens.
That was about as close as you can get to wrecking without actually wrecking, as Harley was able to keep that car under him. As Gelder now starting to come back up. Gelder in that second position right now at the back end of this group. He is going to have the most speed aside from the leader of the pack, the middle of the pack, and the back of the pack. We've seen it already, and Gelder's the one that proved it. You can be a lot quicker riding on your own here than riding in a pack.
You certainly can, and if you look at that battle for the lead, Matt Gelder currently, he's breaking out the Jaws music. He's done running right behind your leader in the 95. He's going to look to the inside, but he's not going to have the run this time by as we work into lap 54.
Yep, and to further emphasize that point, that riding in a pack is not necessarily the best way to go, these three cars have pulled out a second on David Gargano and the pack that he was in since the last time we looked about 4 or 5 laps ago. So it just goes to show further, single car is where you want to be. If you can find a spot to where you're all alone on this racetrack, it's completely reversed from today's racing.
That's exactly right. And real quick, we just want to look at these cars that right now would absolutely hate a caution flag to come out. Ozzie Milwane's sitting at a lap down. Joey Haynes sitting at a lap down. Ethan Osowski. So a lot of your top runners previously are now a lap down, just hoping and begging that we cycle back around for some more pit stops before a caution happens.
Yep, and they're all sitting right in front of the third place rider. That is David Gargano sitting in third position. Maurice Gamillion right now the leader of the group behind these guys. I'm sorry, Rob Deloche, pardon me, is the leader of the group that is right behind the pack that we were seeing just a second ago. 3 Forge Racing cars in this group.
As much of a factor as having your teammates around you in most racing is concerned, it would be awesome, or it is awesome for Gamillion and Deloche and their other teammates to be together. But in this aspect of racing, it's not going to help you all that much. There's not really any draft to work with, so they're just kind of hanging out with each other right now.
David Gargano must have taken our words to heart here as he has come in by himself from the third position here for that 42. So now we'll go back up to the front here. Vince Harley, Matt Gelder still sitting 1 and 2, but they're getting a little bit more company as this run continues on. That is the 45 of Taylor Burris. We saw him have his big moment. He is now sitting in 29th position, 2 laps down.
More big implications for the remainder of this race. Kyle Hendricks has now put himself back on the lead lap by passing that 95 of Vince Harley. Again, Gelder sits second, Deloche sits third, Gamillion right there. So if they were somehow able to work together, those two teammates could come up here and take this top spot. If they can make up 15 seconds, that is.
It certainly could. As now we see 2 pairs of teammates here between Deloche and Gamillion, and then you have the 2 teammates of Justin Garrick and Brian Scrivener sitting behind him in the 70. And a little bit of a pack forming, a little bit of a pack racing in front of these guys as well. As this is that lead pack that was the lead pack prior to pitting for the first time.
Not really something we were expecting to see here tonight in any form of a pack racing, but right now it seems to be holding steady with those cars that you're watching on the screen.
It certainly is, and this is now about to turn into an 8-car group here as we work lap 58. Joshua Mertz in, Gustavo Sienforini in, Gerard Gilbert in. Now the race leaders of Vince Harley and Matt Gelder coming in on lap 58. These are the guys that came in under the second caution of the night on lap 18. See those guys I just mentioned in pit road? This is going to be the start of what would be the final round of green flag pit stops here.
That is absolutely correct, as now you see Harley still scored the race leader, but it will update as we come across the line this time.
Rob Deloche, the race leader right now in the 235.
Rob Deloche will take it with his teammate, Maurice Gamillion, riding in second. They're going to try to run away from this. We see a couple more teams forming up. You got that 48, the 135, and the 62. They're all further back in the field, but if they can work together, Mike can make some fireworks happen here tonight.
Yep, certainly could. Those are the Sector 5 cars, as there's Bryson Chute. There in that 002. He is racing Hendricks. That is not a battle for position, as Hendricks currently running in 6th. That group we were just seeing right there, the one being led by Deloche, is in pit road right now, and this should hand the lead of the race over to Kyle Hendricks. We're going to put this track map up here. Look for the 16. There he is heading into the tri-oval right at the base of the track map. There is the race lead changing hands. He's racing with a lot of guys that he was racing with before. However, none of those guys running behind him right now are for positions. So Kyle Hendricks right now leading this race out alone by 7.75 seconds to Vince Harley and Matt Gelder, who is another 6.5 seconds behind Harley. So this is what you would expect to see out of these race cars, a big, wide gap between positions. This is not your new Gen 6, Gen 7 car.
It absolutely is not, because pit strategy becoming a major factor in this race. Looks like still credited with second is Vince Harley. As far as iRacing goes, trying to update all of my stuff real quick. Not too much going on as far as action on the track, as you see the 3 looking to the outside of one of those Sector 5 cars. He's going to touch the wall, but he's going to gather it right back up. Gave me a little mini heart attack right there, but that 3 of Brian Halleck gets it back under control.
Yep, there he is. And again, that goes back to what we said before. These cars are tanks. You can beat these cars up a little bit and still maintain pace in these race cars. As we look now through the rest of this field here, Ethan Osowski now being scored in the 4th position in that 033, one of the round 1 winners for the 2.4 hour race. Osowski went and dominated the GTE class back in round 1 of the season last month. Other winners for that event were Ozzie Milwane, who won the GT3 class in that race, and Joey Haynes, all very conveniently in this group, I must say. Joey Haynes, the winner of the LMP2 class, and the overall winner for the Daytona 2.5 here last month.
Another point we want to make, Kyle Hendricks is setting himself up perfectly for the rest of this race. I mean, if this thing were to stay green, he's got 9 seconds back to Harley, 15 seconds back to Gelder. If this thing continues to go green, he is setting himself up beautifully for the end of this race.
Yep, he absolutely is, as he now has a 10.5 second lead and growing. The last time around, we'll put them up here on the screen just to show you how much of a difference it is between riding alone and riding in a group. Hendricks, 1 second, 9/10, 7/10, 9/10, quicker than Harley every single lap. That 40.3 seconds on lap 59, that's a pit stop for Harley. As he's now coming up to the back of that group that you had mentioned before, that group with the 3 of Brian Halleck and the 3 Sector 5 cars. Right up in front of him, Casey Sawtek and the 27 in that group as well. So as we settle into this race, as we see the 002 in the wall, falling to the back of this group now, we will take a quick break. We will be right back. You're watching the Major Series American Sportsman Division Daytona 500 here on ESPN. Don't go anywhere.
Who's it? This is McFadden.
We welcome you back here to Daytona. Caution number 3 of the night, happening while we were under break there. And as we try to find the cause of that caution, I believe we might be looking at Rob DeLoach as one of the possibilities. No, he appears to be okay. Unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to kind of search and find around here as to what could have possibly happened. As hopefully we can find it. Sure, our master detective Ryan Williams is on that right now.
It will be the 64 of Rob Courtney going around in turn number 3.
There he is. There is the 64 of Courtney. One of the Vengeance Motorsports entries in tonight's race. So we'll see if iRacing now will allow us to see. Yep, there we go. Just a nice and neat little slide. Nothing too dramatic.
Then contact with his teammate.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Sends him around.
As we go back to live pictures here, pit stops are on the docket here.
No worse way to go around than to have contact with your teammate there. Feel bad for Rob Courtney, but he's going to go ahead and looks like he's going to get it fixed and back out on the track. Huff break for that driver of the 64.
And the master, the guy who has been the master on pit road tonight, Vince Harley, has done it again. Vince Harley has won the race off of pit road and has beaten out Kyle Hendricks.
Since Vince Harley, I may be misinformed here, but since Vince Harley pitted those first 2 cautions, did he pit under green?
He did not, so this would have been his time to... Oh, actually, yes, he did, actually.
Okay, he did.
Yeah, so this would be pit stop number 4 for him on the day. And again, there are 10 sets of tires that these guys can use. There's 9 sets you could change on to, plus the set you start the race on. And right now, this will give the lead to the driver of the 72, Robert Covey, currently being scored as the race leader.
And if you really look at it, that was the last thing that Kyle Hendricks was looking for there. A caution decimates his 9, at the time, 10-second lead over that 95 of Vince Harley.
Yeah, that was a 10-second lead when we had last left it. While we were in commercial break, we had seen that had grown quite significantly. That had grown out to a 16-second lead that Kyle Hendricks had on the rest of the field. So that, you're right, is an absolutely devastating caution. One that you were expecting to see, but you didn't want to.
And it's even worse for him because now, for the first time tonight, he will be starting behind other cars. And we've seen that run that he's getting off of these restarts. He will not be able to get near the same run this time by.
2 cars of note that we want to put on screen here. That is the 6 and the 73, Gustavo Sienforini and Gerard Gilbert. Those guys running for Chronic Racing. We had highlighted the 6 on lap 6. That was the John King tribute, which, by the way, again, if you have not done yet, there is a GoFundMe link in our YouTube description that you can follow, that you can try to help and donate money to the family here for John as they try to work on his medical expenses here as he battles stage 3 brain cancer, which is, I mean, that is the last thing you want to hear for anyone.
It is, but again, all thoughts and prayers go out to John's family in their time of need, and big props to the iRacing community around them for coming together and raising all of this money for them and being there as a support system. It's really heartwarming to see something like that happen.
Already raised 6,200 euro at least. The goal was 10,000, and we're more than halfway there. Would love to see it keep rising. But as we start this race once again, it is Robert Covey in the 72 in the lead. Now, just a refresher, if you're on the tail end of the lead lap, you do not get a wave around. You start in front of the leaders and hope there's a caution. Now, the 73 almost got into the wall. Now the leader of this race, the 72 Covey, has all of this traffic to get through just to get out to the lead of the race.
It could have been a little confusing for those of you who are not used to these old NASCAR rules as the 3 car pulls down in front of the 72. It's going to be interesting to see if the 72 can get back around these cars, as he's got a plethora of machines blocking the way, and there goes the 15 right back to the lead.
Yep, that's Kyle Hendricks right back to the race lead, and you can see some of these cars up here battling to stay on the lead lap, starting to get into the wall, starting to have issues, maintaining. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is what you call...
Boy, Hendricks in the 6. The 6 came down. There goes Hendricks.
Disaster.
Sienforini and Hendricks hard into the wall on the inside of turn 3. We stay green because it is so far off the racing surface, but that is the danger, and now the caution comes out, but that is the danger of these old NASCAR rules where you're starting with the back of the lead lap cars up in front of the leaders.
Exactly the point that I was getting ready to make. This is what you call the minefield in racing. You have to dodge your way through the minefield to get back out in front of these cars. And for Hendricks, the minefield struck once again.
It absolutely did. And that had started just as they were coming off of turn 2, the 6 and the 16 of Hendricks, as this is Hendricks getting back onto the racetrack. But Sienforini and Hendricks both making contact coming out of 2, and then this is him coming back onto the racing surface, trying to keep up that speed, trying to keep up that pace and momentum, and he hit that inside wall a ton.
Hard break for Kyle Hendricks. He cannot be happy with the 6 of Sienforini at the moment, but I'm sure they'll get together, have a cup of tea, and get over it later on. Hendricks still has a faster pair. He can get right back in this race.
Yep, he does. And we'll watch this here from above. This is starting at the front straightaway. There's the pass for the lead. As that silver car of Hendricks getting around the 72. The 95 comes with him. And coming out of turns 1 and 2, there is the 6 of Sienforini in front of him. Coming out of 2, Hendricks tries to take it to the inside. The 6 trying to avoid the 002 moving up. That sent both of them going wild, and then just unfortunately the 6 did not leave Hendricks enough room to get up. And also Sienforini has another spin beyond. He got hit hard actually by the 44. That was the cause of the caution, not the 16.
Let me go back and take just another look at that. I want to see this caution between the 6 and that other car. Not showing it to me on my replay end.
There it is, right there online.
I can imagine that was a hard lick that Sienforini took.
Yeah, Sienforini came right back up the racetrack, and as he was coming down, just had nowhere to go and got a big rear end punt in that number 6. And again, that's the quote-unquote tribute car here tonight for John King. The reason why I say quote-unquote is because this is Sienforini's car. Piloting the number 6 here tonight for John.
But it is a team car scheme.
Yes.
Yes. And again, that's one of those moments in these cars. Just think of if an actual driver were in that driver's seat, you don't have a full containment seat. You're just holding on for dear life, looking at sky ground. Had to be terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're getting set to go back to green flag racing here. Fortunately for Vince Harley, he is not going to have to deal with that. He will have to deal with lap cars, however, on the inside lane. That's about as bad as it gets. And just going back to that, that is exactly why they changed the rule in NASCAR, is for stuff like that that could happen with guys racing to try to stay on the lead lap.
Is exactly why, and I keep going back to it. It creates a minefield in front of your leaders. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this time. Vince Harley might not have to deal with the same thing that his predecessors did, but he's still going to have to deal with that 72 behind him, chomping at the bit to try to get around him.
He is going to have a couple of lap cars to his inside, however.
Yes.
So that would be the only thing he is going to have to contend with. And for those lead lap cars, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You don't want to see a wreck. You don't want it to be the cause of those cars on the back end of the lead lap. But if it does come out, you got your lap back.
That's exactly right. A great point to make here. As you see those two Forge cars, they are both a lap down. They drop down to the inside. Your first lap down car will be Gerard Gilbert. He's going to be chomping at the bit to try to get back around Vince Harley. He wants his lap back, and he wants his lap back fast.
Gerard Gilbert running in the 24th position, so 23 cars not currently scored on the lead lap. Sienforini now in that 6 will come up to be the 4th car on the inside lane here to take this restart. Everybody else on the outside. Pace car is off. We are back to green flag racing here at the 1987 Daytona 500 for the Major Series American Sportsman Division, and Vince Harley is out and away.
Great jump by Harley, but the 72 of Covey stays right there with him. He may have figured out the tips and the tricks as he gets a run out of turn 2, but starts to lose it down the back straightaway.
It certainly does. Matt Gelder a half a second behind in that number 69. Now the 3 and the 6 are not on the lead lap. There's the 00 of Mark Mcfadden. Haven't spoken about him in a little bit. Running in the 5th position, trying to take advantage of those lap cars being a little bit trying to hold up. That outside lane is about to get around Ozzie Milwane in the 113 with the 73 being used as a pick on the outside. And now a race for the lead between Covey and Harley.
As we look up at the front, it is a heck of a race between Covey and Harley. Covey to the lead. Harley going to duck back down in second. From here, his best move is to just ride around for a little while, but he might be wanting that lead back sooner rather than later as he peeks to the inside, but he's going to fall back in line into turn number 3.
Certainly, as Harley still trying to hold that inside lane. That's the 003 of Osowski, the 3rd car in line, as we have another caution here. As we look, we'll try to find the cause of this caution here.
Looks like the 62 of Michael Lane involved, the 002 of Bryson Chute involved as well. A couple more cars in there, but I haven't seen who they are just quite yet.
That's multiple incidents now that 002 of Bryson Chute has been involved in. Now, Chute had started back in the up in the 5th position, and has not had a good race from there as we're riding on board with him right now. As he brings that car into pit road, we'll see what we can get as far as a replay here of what has happened between these two cars. As coming into the tri-oval here, Chute trying to go to the inside. That's the 322 of Paulison. May have gone... Coming up now, I think I may have gone a little bit too far back here, unfortunately. So we'll try to get it now. As up there, they go around already. Oh, that was the 62. Oh, a big shot that the 62 took. And that one, I apologize for before. The 002 was completely an innocent bystander there, as that wreck had already started to happen with the 62 of Michael Lane. See, they coming down the back straightaway.
laying down on the apron there, isn't it?
We're going to see here in just a second. No, Lane gets loose going into turn 3. Just single car loose.
Mm-hmm.
And then that 002 just broadsides him, unfortunately. So I will apologize to the 002 for that one. And that's why you never assume. Tend to make an ass out of yourself.
You're doing great, Frank. We all love you.
Thank you very much. Just about at halfway here. Currently working lap 79 of 200. Robert Covey currently holding the race lead. Matt Gelder, Mark Mcfadden, Ozzie Milwane, and Rob Deloche. Your top 5. A further update on the man who had dominated so much of the front of this, the beginning quarter of this race. Kyle Hendricks has been on pit road now for 8.5 minutes here. So whether or not he is refusing to take his fast repair this early or what have you, that 16 has been on pit road and is currently occupying the final position now. And I did see a comment in chat there. Yeah, Jacob. Okay, our mod caught it. So there you go. So as we work our 5th caution of the day, about to get this race restarted. And one thing I am noticing, Ryan, that'll certainly pique some interest as the race goes on. Starting to see a lot of marble buildup just below the O line and right up against that wall. That could make these cars that are already loose a lot worse.
They're going to have to keep it in the back of their heads. Hey, whatever you do, stay on the track. Do not dip off, because as soon as you do, you hit some marbles, tires go up, and all heck breaks loose.
Certainly does, and those marbles do have an effect. As who would have thought that balled up pieces of rubber could be such a disaster, but it certainly can be.
Something big happening right now. Kyle Hendricks has retaken the track in his 15 machine. He's going to join the field at the back, but he is still 5 laps down now. So that's going to be a long ways for him to make up ground if he wants to get back in contention here tonight.
Hendricks spent 9 minutes and 2 seconds in pit lane, 8.5 minutes in his pit box for that incident with the 6 of Sienforini. About to go back to green flag racing here. Robert Covey leading the outside lane and the race. Green flag is back out starting lap 81 of 200.
Covey with a jump on Gelder, going to have the pick of the 3-car pull-up in front of him, but Gelder down to the inside and all the way to the apron goes Gelder, and he slows up, letting the rest of the field around him.
I think that might be planned by Gelder. I could not imagine why he would have done that unless he was trying to get to the back of this group. So, I mean, you typically would see that down the back straightaways. Look at Mark Mcfadden with the run here. Running in second position, has 2 lap cars between him and the third place runner, Ozzie Milwane. Mcfadden wants the lead of this thing.
Mcfadden finds himself in the catbird seat around the tri-oval into lap number 82. He's going to get a run, running that high lane around the tri-oval, going to get a run into the turns 1 and 2. Then one thing I was seeing earlier out of that 95 car of Vince Harley, who currently sits back in 17th, is he was running a much different lane around the turns than the rest of the cars. He would go in a little higher and come off lower and gather a run down the back straightaway, while other people start to adopt that as we go further into this race. And will it play a major factor, these different lanes that people are choosing to run?
Might help as far as tire wear goes for the 13. As you can see him enter high, start to swing down low, getting in between those 2 lap cars of the 3 and the 73. Now that 3 of Brian Halleck starting to create, I would assume, a little bit of a nuisance there for the 113. That is the 6 of Sienforini that is running up here. 5th car in line, not for position. Sienforini currently occupying the 23rd position on the racetrack as we have a battle for the lead here as Mark Mcfadden goes to the top. He's going to get a push from Halleck on the outside lane. Milwane takes that opportunity to go to the inside, might now take the 2nd position away.
Milwane to the inside. Whoa, big bobble out of the 00 of Mcfadden allows Milwane all the way around him. They're going to single file back out, but I cannot count out Mark Mcfadden just yet. He's going to look back down the inside into turn 1. We've got a race for the lead brewing.
Yep, certainly do. If you're a fan of ESPN, if you followed us, you certainly know the name Mark Mcfadden for both the iRacing East series, the Sim Racers Edge series, now the Western States Racing League. Mark Mcfadden, certainly a name that we know here on this network. And yes, that graphic is right. 72 years of age just goes to show the reach that something like iRacing provides for people.
That's exactly right. I've been in the sim for a few years now, and I've met people ranging from the age of, say, 13 all the way up into the mid-70s. So a big reach sim-wise as far as all of that goes. And right now he's showing you that age is just a number running up there with the big dogs in front of this whole field.
When your age is the same number as the car that's in the lead. it's what McFadden's situation is right now. Lap cars behind him, though. The next driver for position is that 42 of David Gargano. Behind him is the 15 of Spencer Todd. Todd was running up towards the front of the field, started in 2nd. We saw him get shuffled out by Oswowski, and then Todd has been back in the field ever since.
Something interesting that just happened. Robert Covey dipped down off the racetrack. Was your leader dipped down to pull into pit road? It looks like he may get a too fast entering penalty.
There we go. There is Robert Covey right there on pit road. You can see the right side's up, changing tires for that number 72. That leaves Ozzie Milwane. Again, Milwane, the GT3 winner at the 2.4 hours at Daytona here last month. So he already has a win under his belt this season in majors. Looking to get a 2nd in 2 races. Sorry, go ahead.
Just to confirm, Robert Covey is serving a too fast entering penalty.
Yep, as Gustavo Sienforini, you see him in the wall in 1 and 2. Sienforini was having a great run. As there we see that 002 of Bryson's shoot getting back on the racing surface. Battle for the lead now as Mark Mcfadden has gotten under Ozzie Milwane. McFadden holding that inside. The 3 is going to split, make it 3 wide. He's racing for his lap back. Is the 3, doesn't quite get it this time, but a very bold move by a very quick car.
Extremely bold by a lap car, but you see there, jumping into the 2nd position. Off of that was David Gargano Jr. We see the 00 currently in the lead. Ozzie Milwane still scored in 2nd, but he will be riding in 3rd. He's now gaining a run back to the backside of that 42 of Gargano. What a run by Gargano to be from the back of the pack. He's all the way back at the front now, riding in 2nd.
Joseph Homan is who we're riding on board with in the 999. This is the 4th place car, and you can just see the run and the closing rate that you get in these cars as Homan trying to find his way around Ozzie Milwane in that 3rd position. We've got 112 laps to go here still. A lot of racing to go. Want to get a lap led, though, as now here comes David Gargano Jr. on the inside lane. And Gargaro's going to make the pass.
These guys up here at the front trading the lead like Pokemon cards back and forth. Now that 00 is going to fall back to about the 4th position. I'm just going to go ahead and bet that Ozzie Milwain is the next person to lead this race as much as they're trading this lead back and forth.
And it does seem as though that if you can get a line working and if you can stick your nose under somebody, it is a lot easier to make a pass on the inside than it is the outside. However, you can use a run to get to the outside. If it's a good enough run, you can make the pass. But a lot of moves we're seeing here tonight, guys being able to stick their nose on the inside as we have a car going well sideways. That's Jason Mcfadden in the 119 coming out of turn 2, gets on the racetrack safely, will sit now in the 13th position. But boy, a big moment for Mcfadden coming out of turn 2.
Back up front, just as I was saying, new leader in the Tri-Oval, it's Ozzie Milwain in the 113. Did exactly what you said he would do. Got a run to the inside and easily passed that 42 car in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and that puts the 999 of Joseph Homan in the catbird seat once again.
Yep, Homan now sitting in the 2nd position. Gargano sitting in the 3rd spot. Mcfadden still maintaining that 4th position. Cars 4 position, not behind him. Rob DeLoche is the next car. He is actually the next car now behind the 00. He is 4 position, and look who is behind that 235 of DeLoche. It is the man who dominated the first quarter of this race, the 16 of Kyle Hendricks.
Again, that 15 of Kyle Hendricks, he's got a long, long way to go, but he's going to start now to pass cars and try to make up those 6 laps that he has to. And if we look now, your former leader, that 72 car, Robert Covey, he is now being approached by the field. He might go a lap down here, another lap down here.
Yep, there is Robert Covey, currently riding in the 26th position is Covey. And you're right, came into pit road right at the beginning of this run. Joey Haynes currently in pit road and has been for 3.5 minutes, the LMP2 winner of the first round of the season. You could just see there how close the front of the pack is as Ozzie Milwain starting to really take command of this field.
He has, but we've still got 110 laps to go. Anything can happen. Anybody can come out of nowhere and absolutely take this race. Just keep your eyes on that 15. If he is able to get some of those laps back and work for this win, he could easily take it home. He's been quick all night.
He certainly has been. As you can see, Hendricks now trying to work forward to get his lap back, passing David Gargano in that number 42. 3 in the 15 sitting behind this group. Again, not for position. The 73 of Gerard Gilbert there as well. And then there is the 95 of Vince Harley currently running in the 4th position. Mark Mcfadden falling back to 5th. Taylor Burris has gotten his 2 laps back as there goes Sienforini. Up and over he goes. Down the back straightaway. Caution is out. That was Ethan. Good. That was Ethan Oswowski as well. That was with him. And we're going to take a look and see what happened here. Boy, that's net code there between the 033 and the 6. 033 doing a very good job not to hit anything, and that's 6 with a little bit of a blowover. Nothing too bad. We'll take a look on board. This is of Oswowski. Great job not to hit anything.
Yeah, just like you said, there's not too much contact. They were coming by a car that was getting back on the track. That was that 002 of Bryson Chute. And as Chute came back on the track, the 6 car kind of went a little high. The 033 was trying to get around him to put him even further back because he was already a lap down, and they just made slight contact, and both of them went around.
And that's what it's like to flip over in a 1987 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. So we just rode on board with Gustavo Sienforini. And We're still on board with Gustavo Sienforini.
Do we have confirmation that if Gustavo Sienforini is playing in VR or not?
I do not know. That is an even worse ride to take as everybody comes into pit road here.
Sincerely hope he is not playing in VR just for that sake, because that was a wild ride he just took.
It certainly was. And the reason why you would see a car blow over like that is, notice something you see on current day cars that are not on this car. That is the roof flap. The roof flap was not put on the cars until, I believe it was the early 90s, was when the roof flaps were introduced to these cars. These specific cars, the 87 cars, did not have those roof flaps yet and were prone to doing just what you saw, blowing right on over if turned around backwards at a high enough speed.
Physics is a heck of a thing, and like you had stated, those roof flaps will fly up, catch the wind, create enough downforce to keep those cars from blowing over. But these, as soon as a tire or anything gets lifted on the ground, all that wind that catches it is just going to instantly turn it right over.
Absolutely. As the only driver that did not pit under that last caution was the race leader, Ozzie Milwane. Everybody else came into pit. That is an interesting strategy.
It does. It makes you think, what does he see different than everybody else? What is he thinking differently than everybody else? Will it work for Ozzie Milwane? We're going to find out here. Still a long way to go in the Daytona 500.
Going back to the roof flaps, they were mandated back in 1994. So it would be another 7 years before a NASCAR stock car would see roof flaps on the top of the car.
We're going to start a new segment here at ESPN called Interesting Facts with Frank.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I get paid to do. As Ozzie Milwane will start up in front of this group now. All of the cars that you see behind him will go to the inside, or should go to the inside, because they are a lap down.
Speaking of a lap down, Kyle Hendricks looks like he did make up one lap. He's currently 5 laps down, so if he can continue to do that, he might find himself back in this race before it's all said and done.
Yep, there's Kyle Hendricks. There you can't really see the car with the glint off of it, but there it is now showing up at US Air. Showing number 15 on the side of the car, actual number being 16. So we are just about at the halfway point here. Milwane's still well out in front of this group. Now that 15 of Spencer Todd is not on the lead lap. From what I am showing, Todd currently running in the 21st position, so I'm not sure why he is on the outside at this stage.
He is, in fact, the first car off of the lead lap. He's the first car a lap down. Green flag waves once again. Ozzie Milwane going to take us back underway here. Lots of laps left. He's going to try to stay out in front for the remainder of it.
Yeah, that's a unique restart there, as the 15 should have been on the inside, allowing the 42 to be the second car in line, as now he will be the second car in line as the 42 takes over that position. Joseph Homan in the 999 there as well. And as we had mentioned, Taylor Burris has made up 2 laps already here, battling in that 4th position. Is going to be looking to follow Homan in, as Homan goes to the inside of Gargano. And now Burris will follow through. Burris up to 3rd. Mcfadden going to be the next one to look under.
We've got them strung out all across this racetrack. Holman trying to keep Burris at bay. You got the 42 of Gargano warning his spots back. Man, you can throw a blanket over these top 6, 7 cars right now.
You absolutely can. The biggest problem, though, for Ozzie Milwane is what I'm about to show you on screen right now. Last pit lap, Lap 69 was the last time Ozzie Milwayne was in pit road. Everybody else lap 95, so he is going to be coming into pit road not that long from now for fuel and tires. Is that 45? He's going to be coming in a little bit sooner for a little bit more damage as caution comes out, and right in the middle of the field. Exactly what you don't want to see, and to make matters worse, Milwayne has already used a fast repair.
You know, I think back to last Monday when we were calling a race at Daytona. The big one has struck once again.
Yep, it certainly has, and I think that's the 72, if I'm not mistaken, of Covey, who's back there as well. Yeah, that is Robert Covey, who is there, and we will certainly show you several replays of this one. You could see it coming with that 45. He got really loose coming into turn 3. And then from there, that was all she wrote.
Yeah, it looks like he takes a shot there from Gargano after he kind of got the car back a little bit stable. Gargano had too much of a run, had no time to brake or check up or anything. Gave him a little bit of a shot that just sent him straight up the racetrack into your leader of Ozzie Milwayne.
Boy, and Hendricks was right in the middle of this as well, as you could just see that looseness. Gargano just didn't have enough time to check up, and that's a heavy, several cars there taking heavy hits. The 113 took a big hit. The 999 took a big hit. As we'll ride on board now with Holman, and Holman has absolutely nowhere to go in this. A little bit of a punt and then right up into his lane. And then just, you're a passenger at that point.
We take a look at drivers like the 00 of Mark Mcfadden, Casey Sawich, Vince Harley. As soon as that happens, they're all grasping as tight as they can to their lucky rabbit's foot and just hoping that they can get around it. And lucky for those drivers, they did, putting Gargano back in the lead, but Mark Mcfadden, clever driving to get around that in the 00.
And there's Ozzie Milwayne's view of it. And you can see there's just, you can't react to something you don't know it's coming, and it's hard to see somebody clipping your left rear like that.
It sure is, and it's a wild feeling as well. Hopefully, for Ozzie Milwayne's sake, he's able to get that car repaired and back out on the racetrack, but a very, very tough break for driver 113.
And it certainly is. And also another tough break for Hendricks, for if one more car had gotten involved in that wreck, he would have gotten yet another lap back. As David Gargano, who you could say arguably was the trigger to that, currently holds the race lead. Mark Mcfadden sitting in the second position. And for guys, again, like Ozzie Milwayne, Joseph Holman, this is going to take a little bit longer than the last damage they needed to fix, because, again, that 113 was involved in that incident right before the start of the race. Had to take a fast repair, and now he is in full damage recovery mode.
It's exactly what I was keying in on earlier. Him having to take his fast repair at such an early stage of this race. Was hoping it wouldn't come back and bite him, but unfortunately, fate has struck, and for him, you just hope and pray that he can somehow get back out onto this racetrack and make up those laps lost.
And from the race lead as well. So it'll be David Gargano, Mark Mcfadden, Casey Sawtic, Vince Harley, and Greg McEnany up in the top 5. Followed by Ethan Osowski, who is just nearly recovered from his getting caught a lap down on a green flag pit cycle earlier tonight. Robert Gamble, Chris Sherburne, Joshua Mertz, and Jason McSparron currently make up the top 10.
And I, for one, am going to continue to keep my eye on this 16 car up here of Mr. Kyle Hendricks. He's trying to make up some laps. He wants to get back into this race. Let's see if he can pull off an unimaginable feat and gain back these entire 5 laps if he can stay in front of your leaders. But right now, Mr. Frank Marchese, please take us back to green, my friend.
It's Marchese, but that's fine. I've heard.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Heard it. I've heard it so much worse, so many more times. As Gargano will lead them down. Pace car is off. We are just past halfway, about to start lap 103 here at Daytona. Green flag back in the air, and Hendricks gets a great start on the inside line. And it looks as though the Pied Piper will lead them around again.
Speaking of Pied Pipers, Mark Mcfadden looking for the lead early on in this run. He's going to get around that 42. He's going to bring that 95 of Vince Harley in tow.
Yeah, we're riding along with Vince Harley right now in that number 95. Harley's going to get loose, coming through turn 3. Boy, and you saw on board there just how easily and just how quick it can happen, and a big wreck behind them as everyone has to slow up. Yeah, but we saw it coming.
Luckily for Harley, the 27 of Casey Sawich gave him a shot into the outside wall, and that completely saved his car from disaster.
Rob DeLoach, I believe, was involved in that as well. Byron Scrivener in the 70 might have caught a piece of that as well. But we know where it started here. This is Vince Harley. And we'll take a look at Harley. You see the initial incident's already happened here. Let's try to take it back a little bit further. Down the back straightaway, you're going to see that 95. We'll take you overhead here. That 95, we were riding on board here, just turns the car in a little too hard. 27 straightens him out, but then there's a big pile up behind him of drivers just trying to slow up. There's the 15 of Spencer Todd. The 62 of Michael Lane was down in the grass, down in the wall. So we've had a lot going on here since the third caution of the race. I believe we're on caution number 7 here. And while we work this caution flag, we will take a quick break and be right back here. You're watching the Majors Series American Sportsman Division Daytona 500 right here on ESPN. Don't go anywhere. Tonight's broadcast of the Majors Series 1987 Daytona 500 is sponsored by DiecastNuts.com. Post your own diecast collections, add or trade to it in the shop, and see other members' collections at DiecastNuts.com and on Facebook at DiecastNuts. And by Rocket Racing Setups. Rocket Racing Setups is one of the leading setup builders for the iRacing community. Find dirt and asphalt setups, tuning guides, fuel sheets, and much more at RocketRacingSetups.com today. I believe a change has been made here as we're about to go back to green flag racing, as Mark Mcfadden will lead them down with David Gargano, Ethan Osowski, Robert Gamble, and Brian Halleck in tow in the top 5. I believe the change was made. No lap cars on the inside this time.
Going to make this very, very interesting, especially for that 16 of Kyle Hendricks. What does that say for the rest of his race?
Hendricks did manage to get a lap back as he was out in front of the leader before the caution came out there. So Hendricks now is really going to be put on the back foot, as now he's going to have to charge through the field in order to get the rest of his laps back instead of starting up at the front.
With the speed we have seen out of his 16 machine so far tonight, I don't think that's going to be a problem for him, as he's been one of the consistently fastest cars on the track. But right now, how about 72-year-old Mark Mcfadden leading the charge into turn number 1?
Yep, certainly is doing a fantastic job, as Gargano is going to go right under him now. This is for the race lead here, as Mcfadden, boy, he knows these cars well. He would have been, what, in his late 40s, early 50s when these cars were actually going around the track?
That he was. He's probably driven one or two in his lifetime. You never know.
Yeah, that too. As Gargano will take the race lead. A little bit of a gap back to Ethan Osowski. Again, Osowski, the winner of the GTE class at the Daytona 2.4 a couple of weeks ago. Currently running in that third position, and Osowski was one of those guys that got caught a lap down in that green flag pit cycle. Same thing with Brian Halleck, his teammate for Forge Racing behind him, was caught a lap down. Robert Gamble in the 48, one of the Sector 5 cars that we've seen running that have been running together all night long. He is up here now in the top 5, as now that would be Osowski going for second place on Mark Mcfadden.
That's right, Osowski to the inside. Mcfadden high and dry to the outside. Nobody wants to work with him. But as we've seen so far in this race, him riding up there by himself might play a benefactor to driver 00.
Yep, certainly might, as Gargano tries to block off that outside lane and does successfully. Osowski is through and clear. Now here comes the 3 of Brian Halleck. Halleck is going to allow the 00 to get into line, as now he will go to the inside. Look at the 119 of Jason McSparren. We saw him take a big hit earlier on. More recently comes sliding off of turn number 2. He's up here in 5th position now.
Still a lot of rear end damage on that machine, but as long as you've got it nice and straight in the front, these cars can maintain a solid speed. And he looks to challenge these top 4 cars as he ducks down to the inside of Mark Mcfadden.
We're riding on board with McSparren now, and you can see just the difference in the cockpit of these cars, how retro these things look. Just goes to show the great job that iRacing did scanning these cars into the simulators. Now we see the 2 Forge Racing cars battling for second, as there goes Brian Halleck below the 023.
They're up there trying to figure out who has bragging rights amongst the team chat. Is Halleck now going to pull up in front of his own teammate and try to gather a push from that other Thunderbird behind him?
Could possibly do, as now look at who is up here. Just noticed him. It's the 16 of Kyle Hendricks.
Come from?
How? Just how?
Hendricks putting new meaning to the phrase, keep your foot in it, as I doubt he has lifted his entire way up here, pushing the 3 car to the lead down the back straightaway.
Yeah, there's your bump draft right there. Can't do that in these cars. Yeah, Hendricks says, yeah, I don't think so. What a run from Kyle Hendricks, And he has gotten that lap back now.
Get out of the way. The freight train's coming through. Kyle Hendricks, another lap back towards getting back on the lead lap. But all of his pushing put that 42 back in the lead of David Gargano Jr.
Yep, Gargano back in that race lead. Just how? How do you have the confidence in one of these cars to be able to run through the entire field? And then to be able to come and just drive right on up to the front. That's incredible from Hendricks.
Because I was just recently checking on Hendricks about 3 laps ago, and he was 15 seconds behind the leaders, and all of a sudden, here he is, that 15, making his presence felt once again, gaining a lap back.
That is unbelievable. It just goes to show who has the best car tonight. That is a flex of muscle right there from Hendricks. Unbelievable.
You see there that 323 car. I believe it was the 323. Was that just went around 322?
Yeah, that's Stephen Paulison, who has had the worst luck of the Sector 5 cars in the field here tonight. That Chronic Racing number 73 of Gerard Gilbert, the car that is in front of him now, as Brian Halleck goes to the race lead in that number 3. Gargano second, Osowski in third, Mark Mcfadden fourth, Jason McSparron up here in the top 5 in fifth. And then you have 2 of those 4 Sector 5 cars here, and that's Gamble and Sherburne, the 48 and the 135.
You continue to look at all these battles for the lead. They're up there playing hot potato with the league. It does not get any better than this right here at Daytona. These classic cars giving us such a nostalgic feel. Just feels right in the soul, doesn't it, Frank?
It absolutely does. We'll look now a little bit further back here in the field. Rob Courtney in the 64. We saw him up and spinning around a little bit earlier on. Justin Garrick in this group as well. This is for the 10th position here between these 3 drivers. You can also see up there the 95 who had his incident earlier on. Vince Harley trying to make his way back up. That's Sienforini ahead of him. And that would be for position between the 95 and the 6.
It would be for position between the 95 and the 6, but the first person for position in front of Rob Courtney back there in that 64 is Joshua Mertz, who is now 3 cars ahead of him. So the 64 of Courtney is going to have to do some work if he wants to gain that 8th or that 9th position away from Mertz.
Yeah, Mertz is that 128 between himself and Sienforini. Sienforini right now is the first car that is not on the lead lap right now, currently running in the 17th position in that number 6. Not missing anything up front. Brian Halleck. Osowski has made a pass for second position over David Gargano. But other than that, that's about it, as there goes the 72 for a ride. That's Robert Covey. He's able to keep it straight. We stay green. What a save by Covey.
Tremendous footwork there by Covey on and off the gas to try to get that car saved. Manages to get it back up on the track. Multiple laps down. But saves his ride for the remaining 116 laps of this race.
Yep. Covey was up at the front here earlier on, and there goes Gargano around off the front end of the 033. Caution coming out. And Gargano goes for a ride.
Hard shove there from the 033 to the back of Gargano, and he, like you said, went for a ride.
There's the 033 of Gargano. Mark Mcfadden caught a piece of that as well. And wouldn't you know who won the pony? Guess who gets another lap back?
If I had to guess, I'd say it'd be the 16 of Kyle Hendricks, right?
Yeah, it certainly would be. Does have a little bit of right front damage now, but he has put on a tour de force here tonight. Has Hendricks, and his job is still just half over.
That's right. He's made up half of those laps. He still needs 3 more laps. So another charge from the front is what you may see out of that 16 of Hendricks.
We'll take another look at what happened now with Gargano and Osowski. As we'll see if anyone comes into pit road here, and then we'll take a look. Barring any takers into pit road, I think we might have a couple. Yep, all the leaders are coming in. So after this this cycle of green flag stops, then we will take a look. Pit road, a busy, busy place.
That is correct. As I'm just taking a moment to take in this action that happened, that caution between that 42 and the 033. Once you get the replay of it, you'll see who else was involved, and you might be a little heartbroken when you see it.
I think I saw Mark Mcfadden caught a little bit on the nose.
That's exactly right.
Yep. So the 3 car comes out of pit road, Brian Halleck. I think he took 2 tires. Jason McSparren, the 2nd car, off of pit lane. And you can see the mad rush coming out of pit road now. Only 1 car did not come into pit road this time, and that was the 64 of Rob Courtney. So while his teammate is spinning, he is now leading.
A driver we had just spoken about in Courtney jumped up all the way from, I believe he was running in about 8th, 9th, all the way to the lead now. Let's see if he can hold it down up front.
Courtney in that 64. Now we will see what happened to his teammate, David Gargano. And just a little bit of a push. You're right. Just a shot and around he went. Very fortunate not to have gotten collected there by anyone else. Was Gargano. So we currently are working under caution here on lap 121. 80 laps to go here in this 1987 Daytona 500. There's still plenty of time, by the way. We've brought it up a couple of times here in the chat. Right up at the top of the description on the YouTube stream here, we have a GoFundMe account for a man by the name of John King, who is currently battling stage 3 brain cancer. That GoFundMe is to help him and his family try to recoup from some of the medical bills. Already 6,200 euro have been donated out of their goal of 10,000 euro. So the guys here at the Major Series, I know we've chipped in some. I think Radion TV has chipped in some as well. I would assume the rest of the broadcasting teams have chipped into that GoFundMe as well. So if you guys wouldn't mind, any little bit helps. Doesn't have to be a big major donation. Just any little thing helps. You can find the link to that GoFundMe right at the top of the description in the YouTube video.
And something interesting, I'm now noticing, it looks like that 95 car of Vince Harley is leading the field back to green here, as he's going to stop on it. The rest are going to follow. We're boogieing once again down the front straightaway.
It is. Vince Harley was the last car on the lead lap, so the tail end of the lead lap was the 95 of Harley, so he will start up in front of the field. Another thing to note there, lap cars were on the inside for that restart, which means the 16, of Hendricks doesn't have nearly as far to go this time as he did last time. As you see, a big block there by the 64 of Courtney, trying to keep Halleck behind him in the 3.
Able to pull it off. There's Rob Courtney flirting with disaster to try to throw a block there on the 3 car of Brian Halleck. But that's going to put Halleck right back in the catbird seat. As we've seen time and time again, that second place driver is usually right there to take the lead anytime your leader slips up.
That black 00 of Mark Mcfadden as well up here running in the 3rd position. Behind him is Hendricks trying to get his 4th of 6 laps back as Courtney now vacates to the outside line. That will leave Brian Halleck with the race lead. Mark Mcfadden in 2nd. There goes Hendricks to the outside. And look at the 6, Sienforini. Again, the first car that is not on the lead lap is the 6 of Sienforini. He's done being a lap down. He wants to be back on the lead lap. And wouldn't you know who's back out in front of the field?
It's time and time again. It's like he just can't get away from it. There's a magnet attracting that 16 as the 64 of Rob Courtney hard into the outside wall. As I was saying, the 16, he's just attracted to that top spot. Doesn't matter if he's in the lead or a lap down, he's going to be out in front of this field, it appears.
Yep, certainly is. And right now, it would at this point in the race, it would behoove the rest of the field here to try to keep him behind them. That is a very, very dangerous car if you let him back on the lead lap. The question is, do you have enough for him to be able to get and stay in front of him?
That's exactly right. Now you see Mark Mcfadden in that 00. That little bit of damage that he took does not seem to be affecting this car, as he's challenging for the lead again with that 3 car right in front of him.
Yep, and just behind them is a battle between lap down cars, as that is the 72 of Covey, the 6 of Sienforini, and the 95 of Harley. Those guys now get it sorted out. Next car for position behind Mark Mcfadden is the 119 of Jason McSparron, currently sitting in the 3rd position. Robert Gamble behind him, and David Gargano has jumped up into the 4th position, now trying to get that 3rd position back from McSparron, and looks like he's going to do it coming out of turn 4.
You saw a big slide there out of that 70, or out of McSparron on the outside of Gargano, excuse me. As Gargano, a driver who's now trying to reclaim what was his at the top spot of this board after, unfortunately, going around for our last caution.
Boy, McFadden just about put it in the wall in 1 and 2 as Covey now gets one of his laps back. Here is the 3 of Brian Halleck going back for the race lead. Vince Harley in the 95 trying to get a lap back, and look who's right back in the picture, David Gargano. He might be the only one that's going to be able to challenge that 16 to try to put him a lap down again.
He very well could be, but that 16 out front, he's just hoping and praying for more and more caution. Still needs 3 laps. He knows he's got the car to beat, but he doesn't know if fate's going to fall his way in these remaining laps.
And that's going to be the big key. We saw what happened between these 2 drivers here. The 3 of Halleck, the 42 of Gargano. Gargano given plenty of room by Halleck, and that puts the 42 of Gargano back into the race lead as we come up to 70 laps to go. The 2 drivers in front of them trying to get laps back, the 72 of Covey and the 16 of Kyle Hendricks, who currently is out in front of the group, as boy, that 95 had a close encounter with the wall.
The 42 of Gargano seems to be lightning quick back to the outside of that 72 car of Robert Covey. Falls back behind him, but he wants to make sure Covey stays a lap down if he has anything to say about it.
Gargano, that last lap, ran a 42.66. The next car for position that was just as quick as Gargano was the 128 of Joshua Mertz, who ran a 42.91. He is upwards of a half a second quicker than anyone he's battling for position right now, and he is about to put that 16 another lap down.
The absolute last thing the 16 wanted to happen right now. You look further back behind them, the 95, the 6, they have a little bit of a tussle back there, but they get it back under control. For this 16, he needs to play some strategy here to try and keep that 42 of Gargano behind him.
Gargano, though, just has that brute power right now. As now Gargano, you see these cars flying by. Gargano able to stay right up behind that 16 of Hendricks. Again, Hendricks right now, I believe he'd be 2 laps down at the moment, trying to avoid getting put 3 laps down. He's begging for a caution right now because that 42 is on him.
42 is on him and quick, but now you see the 72 starting to get a run, but fade back just a little bit. He's itching for a lap back as well. But again, our eyes stay on that 16 car. Can he keep the 42 behind him?
Covey currently running 3 laps down now. He is not for position for the 16. Actually, pardon me, he is for position with the 16. And you can see those neon gloves in that 16 car. He is working to stay in front of that 42. We'll try to jump on board here with Kyle Hendricks. Look at the gloves working away as he goes through these corners. Hendricks, even though he's out in front of the group, still needing to work as there's the 45, and those are the close encounters that make you squirm.
That they are. They make you clench tighter than anything else in this world. You just don't want a lap car to get in the way. Luckily enough for that 15 or the 16, he was able to stay out of the way, but the 42 continuously getting a run to his backside, but just not quite able to get back around him.
You can see that constantly working the wheel as he gets around Paulison now, right on board with Gargano, who's sitting right behind him. Just on board.
45.
Oh. It's the 45 of Taylor Burris, and the caution is out. Joshua Mertz involved in the 128. Yep, there's the 6 of Sienforini at the bottom of the screen.
Looked like Sienforini come up once again. That run out of turn number 4 bit him in the butt. He slapped the wall, came down, collected the 45 of Taylor Burns, and it was on from there.
Oh, he hit that wall a ton, too, coming out of turn 4. And fortunately, just those 3. But boy, oh boy, Sienforini took a big hit. And everyone coming up behind just able to hold station there. But boy, Sienforini took a huge hit.
That he did. That driver of the 6 has taken a beating so far tonight. Had that rollover early in the race and now taking a huge hit off the wall. And then another one delivered from the car who is inside that 45. But Frank, another very good omen for the 16 of Kyle Hendricks there.
Yep, then with that, you're right. He does get another lap back. So Hendricks, who was 6 laps down earlier on, now just 2 laps down at the moment. He is on a masterful recovery drive. And if he does manage to come away with this thing, come away with a victory here, it would probably be one of the more deserved victories, more earned victories in recent memory.
Oh, boy, if he was able to make something masterful happen, you'd put him in the Hall of Fame of iRacing along with, I don't even know who would be in there at this point, but that would be absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
I mean, 6 laps down in a full-length Daytona 500 with no wave arounds, no nothing like that. I mean, that's incredible to accomplish. If he can get it done. Still has 2 more laps and then a full trip through the field to go, and he's only got about, by the time we go back to green, 65 laps to do it.
That's exactly right. And I don't know who his setup builder is. He probably does it himself, but he is fantastic at his job.
Could it possibly be a setup from Rocket Racing Setups?
That's where I was going with it.
And you can find a bunch of asphalt and dirt setups as well as precise fuel sheets and adjustment guides at rocketracingsetups.com.
See, I set you up for the alley-oop there, Frank. You like that?
And I put it home.
Yes, sir, you did.
As we look, the next race for majors here is not going to be until March 14th. At least for the American Sportsman Series, it will be the 1979 Grand Prix of Long Beach, which will take place again on the 14th day of March. For the International Series, as I get my schedule back up here. For the International Series, it'll be the 2 hours at Mount Panorama. And then for the European Series, it'll be the Masters of Formula 3 at Zolder on March 14th. But coming up for us here on ESPN tomorrow will be the Rowdy Energy Cup Series, round number 2 from the Daytona Road Course, starting at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. On Tuesday night will be the Western States Racing League, round 7 from the Texas Motor Speedway. Western States Racing League, for those of you who do not know, trace their origins in sim racing all the way back to 1999. This will be the 45th season. This is round 7 for the 45th season for the Western States Racing League, and it'll take place at Texas on Tuesday night. Sim Racer's Edge is off this week, so we will have a double dip on Thursday with the USRA Cup Series. Third to last race of the season will be at Phoenix Raceway. A nice championship battle setting up there for the USRA Cup Series. And then for round number 3 of the DOB 410 Sprint Cars Series, Ryan, you will be in the booth for that one at Williams Grove.
Correct. Yes, sir, I will be. That should be an absolutely insane trip to Williams Grove. 410 Sprint Cars, nothing more you could ask for there.
And you are a dirt racing guy, so I can't wait to actually hear you call a race in your element.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. I've done it for a few years now. Absolutely love everything about dirt racing and 410 Sprint Cars, a passion of mine. Green flag back in the air here from Daytona as Brian Halleck brings us back to the lead, putting the 3 in front here at Daytona.
And Halleck gets out very nicely. Mark Mcfadden getting out as well. In this group. Look at the 338. We haven't mentioned him of Joey Haynes in quite a while. That was 4 wide there going through turns 1 and 2.
It was Haynes. Haynes a little squirrely there, but able to get it back under control there. You see that 42 car of...
That would be the 40.
David Gargano Jr. shoots back in front of him. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But out front, it's all Mark Mcfadden right now. The 16 car. He looks to be trying to catch back up to Mcfadden as well, pushing him down the front straightaway.
Yeah, he's pushing him, saying, I've got 2 more laps to make up here, son. Get out of my way.
That's exactly right. And right around the outside he goes. Mama, look at that man. 15, 16, whichever you want to call him tonight, back out in front of the field.
Yep, certainly has done a great job. And again, now 1 lap down is the driver of the 15. But Mark Mcfadden this time is not letting him go as easily as he let him go last time. And look, another name that we haven't seen in a while, Matt Gelder in the 69 now working, trying to get one of his laps back. He is on the same lap as the 16 of Hendricks in front of him. So those two are going to be racing for position. Both of them are now 1 lap down as Gargano is right back to the race lead and about to put the 69 2 laps down again.
That he is. Gargano is fast, and so is that 16 of Kyle Hendricks. They're doing exactly what they did on the last green flag run. Will Gargano be able to put him back 2 laps down?
That's what it's looking like, as Hendricks still holding on out in front of this field. Again, Hendricks has worked to get 5 of his 6 laps back at this point. And again, would be a miracle as we're closing in on 60 laps to go. Halleck currently sitting in the 2nd position. Mark Mcfadden is in 3rd. Then there is Covey is behind them. He is currently sitting 3 laps down. And then behind him is Robert Gamble, currently running in the 4th position. A big 3-second gap back to this group that's led by Jason McSparren.
Speaking a little bit on Brian Halleck, we've seen time and time again drivers in number 3 cars pull out some crazy stuff. I wouldn't count him out. He might pull out a crazy run towards the end of this race as that 42 dips low to try to get around that 16. Nothing doing for him.
Yep, certainly we have seen that 3 in victory lane here. And again, wouldn't it be something, again, as we had said at the top of the broadcast, this was intended to be a tribute to Dale Earnhardt, which is why we're in the 87 cars. So that 3, it would be fitting for him to be in victory lane here tonight.
It very well would. You see the 69 car there, Kelder, he's trying to get his lap back. That 42 has seemed to lose some steam here in these last 2 laps.
He's also stuck on that outside lane, or was stuck on that outside lane there for a moment as he gets a big slide there, just touched the apron coming out of turn 4. It doesn't seem to hurt him, though, as he went right on the attack for the 16.
That'll show you how much skill these drivers actually have in these cars. Hours and hours of practice goes into even pulling off a save like that, let alone something that would be even bigger.
Yeah, we've seen it all night, and we've pounded that point home enough all night long that these are not easy cars to drive. Not a lot of downforce on these cars. They move like commercial boats, commercial cargo ships, I should say. It's really difficult once you get one of these things to move to correct it. And that 42 of Gargano did a fantastic job. I think he's taken a fast repair. That car looks clean.
Yes, it absolutely does. Because you saw him whenever after his caution, he first came out onto the track, lightning quick compared to everybody else. So that does incline to tell me that he did, in fact, take his fast repair at that moment.
Yeah, it does look that way. Some of the guys that have come into pit, David Gargano came into pit under that last caution flag, is currently leading the race. Beyond that, Gerard Gilbert in the 73 has gotten his lap back, currently running in the 5th position, and then it's this group here, led by Rob Courtney in the 64. Behind him is Ethan Osowski, Vince Harley, Greg McEnany, Maurice Gamillion. All of these guys came in on lap 132, looking to try to make their way back up through the field.
The 72 of Robert Covey hit pit road, currently multiple laps down. He was assessed another too fast entering penalty, so he will go multiple more laps down.
That's not good. So far, we have, looking at 6 retirements here tonight, as Bryson Shute, Ozzie Milwane, Spencer Todd, Joseph Homan, Taylor Burris, Stephen Paulison are currently right now scored as no longer participating in this race, as the 64 gets pushed up out of line, as Ethan Osowski now takes the lead of that group.
Not to cut you off here, Frank, but if you look at the very front of this race, David Gargano Jr. has put that 16 car back a lap down, but the 16's fighting back on the outside.
Yeah, that's what I was saying during the last run, is you really need to, later on in this race, you know how good he is. The biggest tool you have is to trap him a lap down to keep him from racing you for a race win. This is one of those times where the top 3 have to band together to team up against one guy to keep him off of the lead lap.
And it looks like all of the drivers in the top 5 are heeding your warnings as they are all working together on the bottom line. It looks like Hendricks now he looked to have some help from the 69, but the 69
he's in the wall.
He's in the wall.
Just did. Oh boy, he just grazed that wall. Got very lucky, did Hendricks. And now after the top 3 are done battling for the greater good, now they can go after the self-good, the lead of the race.
That's exactly right. And it looked like Kyle Hendricks was up there trying to use the new iRacing bubble that they have around that outside wall up there, for lack of better terms. A bubble that sucks you into the wall but keeps you just barely off of it. He got a little too close, hit the wall, and there goes the race for him, possibly.
Yep, Gargano really had a big slide on coming out of turn 4, just kissed the wall with the rear tire, was able to keep it out in front of the race lead, did face a good charge there from Brian Halleck. Again, that's your top 3 right there, 42-3-0. battling for the lead of the race. Robert Gamble is in this group as well. And then if you want to find fifth position, you have to look 9 seconds back to this man here in the 70, Brian Scrivener, who currently leads the second pack.
The thing I want to touch on, you were telling me earlier in the broadcast while we were away that in all of your experience calling races, you have never seen Mark Mcfadden be this aggressive at this stage of a race. Right now, riding in third, that 00 looks
Caution
good
is
as we
out.
have a caution on the track.
Yep, caution is out here. So it looks like Joshua Mertz may have been involved. Let's take a look, maybe the 27. Looks as though everything was okay. Let's take a look here at what brought this caution out. This is Mertz. Oh, right ahead of him, it was the 95, and that was one of the Forge cars. I believe that was Rob DeLoach. Took a big hit. We'll find that replay again. This Vince Harley was involved in that and just, hit that wall coming out of turn 4 pretty much the same exact way that Gargano did, just a little bit harder, and that cost him. So
that outside wall in turn 4, it's been a nuisance to all of these drivers all night. Getting out of turn 2 seems okay. Everybody's able to do it, but turn 4, it's just sucking everybody in all night long.
In the 2008 version of this track, it's a lot older a surface, a lot more bumpy. We would have had twice as many cautions probably, and that's just the way of the track with this car. If we were on the 2008 version of this racetrack, that's even worse coming off of turn 4. You have to be on the inside line if you don't want to end up in the wall coming out of turn 4. Just in the same way we've seen a lot of drivers do tonight.
It's exactly correct. As you see everybody come into pit road except for Kyle.
He would have been a lap down, so he was
Kyle Hendricks, yes.
Yep. So as it sits right now, we'll take a look at the race coming off of pit road, but David Gargano comes in as the race lead. Now, these guys will need to stop again. You cannot make it on fuel from here. The first group of cars that came in under that long green flag run in the first half of this race were able to go 41 laps. And working lap 147 right now, about to start starting lap 148 here, still over 50 to go. You have to make at least one more stop in order to make it from here.
And the first car out of pit road was your leader in the 42 of David Gargano Jr. Mark Mcfadden followed him out, so he'll gain the second position. Brian Halleck will fall back just a little ways. Again,
actually looking, because you're using the iRacing timing scoring, which that updates every lap. The timing scoring I'm using is live. And Halleck took 2 tires, and that actually put him out in front.
I apologize.
No, you're going with what's given to you, bud. So as Brian Halleck takes the lead of the race, again, 2 tires. And for Halleck, that's his 6th pit stop of the day. Again, remember, these guys got 9 sets of tires, so he's only has 3 sets left. David Gargano has 2, most likely.
Yeah.
Mark Mcfadden with the least amount of pit stops. Same with Kyle Hendricks. Both of those guys with 5 pit stops on the night. So as we get set to go, once again, that 16 of Hendricks was not as lucky this time around as he has been recently. He is still 2 laps down here as we start this race back up. So it'll be Halleck, Gargano, Mcfadden, Gamble, and Scrivener the top 5. And for Scrivener, that caution was a blessing because, again, 9-second gap between the top 4 and 5th position.
That's right. It'll put him right back in it. If he's able to make up, well, if he's able to catch draft here, he should stay with your top cars. I'm going to keep my eye on Mark Mcfadden off this restart. He's had a fast ride all night, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and that old grizzled veteran can never count him out.
Certainly not. We're going to get the restart here with 51 laps to go, so 3/4 distance gone essentially here. The 3 of Halleck in the lead, only 5 cars to contend with on the inside line. I mean, really make it 4 because we know where Hendricks is going to be right here at the start of this. He'll be up at the front. Cannot pass the leader prior to the start-finish line as we go back to green flag racing here. 51 laps to go in the 1987 Daytona 500.
3 car starts us out front. That 42 instantly looking for his lead back. He knows he's got a fast piece tonight. Gargano Jr. back to the lead in turn number 2.
I mean, you can see a little bit on Gargaro's car on that B pillar. Has that Earnhardt number 3 on that car, so he is carrying the Intimidator on the car tonight. As Gargano, you're right, out to the race lead. Halleck now going to need to defend here, but he's defending from Covey, who is multiple laps down. Mark Mcfadden, his next competitor, now right behind him in the 0-0.
Mcfadden took a peek to the inside, but that 3 of Halleck was able to keep him at bay. And you see here already, we're only a lap into this run, and the gap between your first place car and those behind him is already a half a second.
Certainly is. 50 laps to go here at Daytona. Gargano has a half a second lead right now as we are under caution yet again. This time I think it's for Mcfadden, and it is for Mcfadden. You can see him down there in the grass in that 119 in turns 1 and 2.
And I bet you if you turn into the driver radio chat right now, that 16 car is screaming praises to the Lord.
Certainly. Let's take a look and see what brought out this caution here is Mcfadden. Boy, we've seen it so much tonight. Just a single car slide. And, oh, the 44 unlucky. The 64 unlucky as well. Just catching a piece of it were both Gamilion and Courtney. Single car spin, another part of that less arrow around here. And you're right, that 16 is on a whirly drive right now. 1 lap down.
He's singing high praises and hoping the good Lord takes him back to the lead lap because he needs 1 more lap. A long, grueling effort from Kyle Hendricks. It might result in exactly what he wanted. Heck, he's still got over 50 laps to do it as well.
He's slowing up because I think he's trying to get in line right here in proper order. We'll see if the guys come into pit road right here. As Gargano will stay out, still would need to pit again if you pit here, so high doubt that they would pit here anyway. So while we are under this caution, we will take our final break here tonight as we get set for what is expected to be a wild finish here for the Major Series American Sportsman Division, the 1987 Daytona 500 right here on ESPN. Don't go anywhere. We are getting set to bring you the final 46 laps of the Major Series American Sportsman Division Daytona 500 here on ESPN to kick off the 2021 Oval season, round 2 of the season for the series. We are back to green flag racing, 46 to go.
Major happenings in the back of the pack. The 16 of Kyle Hendricks into the rear end of the 119 of Jason Mcfadden there. That ruined the front end of Kyle Hendricks' car.
Yep, and you can see that right there. We will go back here and take a look at that restart. You can see the 16 way up there at the top of the screen, trying to get a little bit of a run up. Didn't realize that the guys in front of him were checking up, and that, you're right, a huge hit to the left front corner of that 16 getting into the 119. That could really dampen his ability to get up to the front at the rate he was before. But look at this battle for the lead here as the 42 under serious pressure from Halleck in the 3.
You got a serious shove from Halleck there, but Halleck peeks to the inside. You see all these drivers now starting to run the same line into turns 1 and 2. Who's going to change it up? And who's going to be the one to change up their line and try to get around your leader, David Gargano Jr.?
The guys who are battling in the top 3 right now have been here for pretty much the last 60 or 70 laps or so. It's been a fight between Gargano, Halleck, and Mcfadden in the top 3 as, boy, oh boy, Covey looking to possibly make it 3 wide. Ducks in line behind the 42, trying to find a little bit of room. He still has a couple of laps to make up. Does the 72 and the 69 goes sliding through the infield. Almost a big wreck. There goes the 72. The 00 involved. The 44 goes up and over.
A domino effect of crashing race cars here. All started with that 69 car. As we take a look back.
Sienforini up and over again.
Interesting night for Gustavo here.
It certainly has been. He's been upside down and all around tonight. So we'll go back and see what happened here. Boy, that's a lot of heavy hits right there. Well, the 73, who's done a great job to get back on the lead lap, gets hit again. And then we're going to see Gustavo. Oh, he got hit hard by Hendricks. So another big hit for Hendricks. We'll take a better look at what happened here. It's from up above. This is starting in turn 3. Saw the move that Covey was making in the 72, sorry.
It looked like Gustavo Sienforini gets into his teammate in that 73 machine, Gerard Gilbert, and that stopped him up. And here comes the 16 car of Hendricks slam into him.
Boy, the one mistake the 00 made all night long. And we'll see. Here comes Sienforini in. The 73 stopped in the middle of the track, tries to gas it up, spins the car out, and then gets a big shove from the 16. And that's not the first time those two have been involved in an incident tonight. And I think that one finally killed it for the 6.
It may have finally killed it for the 6, but it also probably finally killed it for the 16. What a courageous run he had, pulling in 5 of those 6 laps. It looked like he was supposed to be on the lead lap for that last restart, but pitted at the wrong time, which kept him a lap down.
So there he is. There is Kyle Hendricks on pit road, coming in to try to fix that damage, and I think he would take exception to us calling TOD on him. Everybody in pit road except for the top 8. So Halleck, Gargano, Oswowski, Mertz, McEnany, Sherburne, Lane, and Mcfadden all deciding to stay out. And of the Ford racing cars, we had noted this earlier in the race. Of the Ford racing cars, it was not the Chevy that survived.
Certainly was not. Ford Power all out front. The 3-car of Brian Halleck has been the survivor so far of the Forge car, but he does have a teammate right there behind him. Maybe they can work together here in these last 40 laps.
7 of the first 8 cars are Fords. And that is a far cry from earlier when I think it was 9 of the first 10 were Chevrolets.
See, I'm a Ford man myself, so not to gloat or anything, but Ford Power.
Real men wear bow ties, but as Halleck...
We'll discuss that later.
As Halleck leading now as we take with 40 laps to go. We will restart this race and tick over to 39 to go. There is Hendricks just getting out before getting lapped. So he will come around. First car not on the lead lap is the 69 of Matt Gelder. He is in the 16th position. So only 15 cars on the lead lap at this point. It makes it interesting, and it's a lot more fun to go back and see racing as it used to be with the lead lap cars on the outside, the lap down cars on the inside, cars at the tail end of the lead lap starting up in front of the leader. But we saw that earlier. What put Hendricks in the situation that he's in right now is exactly why they got rid of it.
Exactly right. I mean, this kind of racing makes you think back to those days as a kid. I know when I was young going to Darlington, seeing those single file restarts. It's a lot of nostalgia for me, and hope it is for the viewers as well. This is racing at its finest right here, and we're going to see who's got the gall over these last 39 laps when we go back green to take this thing home tonight.
Speaking of Darlington, a little bit later on this summer, we will be broadcasting a full-length Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway here with the Major Series. Back to green flag action here. 40 laps to go. The 999 gets out of the way. Leaves the leaders to race. Great start up at the front for Halleck and Gargano, as those two broke away clean.
And you can see here into turn number 3 who the two dominant cars are. Right now you see that 033 of Ethan Osowski has just kept himself in this race time and time again, and now he has caught our leaders, and he's going to look to the outside but not going to make anything happen as we work into lap number 162.
He has gotten a great run there on that charge up, and look at that 3 out in front. It is the Richard Childress Earnhardt spec number 3 that is out in front of this field. Gargano splitting the two Ford Racing teammates. Another set of teammates between Osowski and McEnany getting split by Mertz as Osowski gets as close to the wall as he possibly can without touching it. Still trying to work that second place, but Gargano has a very strong car. The momentum on that outside lane, though, is going to help him stay there, but he can't complete the pass just yet.
That's exactly right. And then back to your point just a moment ago, a Richard Childress Spec 3, number 3, but it is a Ford.
Yes, it is. And that does feel a little sacrilegious, to be honest.
That's exactly the point I was making, but nonetheless, it is a 3 out front of this race. That 42 gives them a big shove down the back straightaway into turn number 3. We got them almost 3 wide as the 033 gets super close to the wall there.
Yeah, you can't fit much between the wall and that 033. The 128 of Joshua Mertz trying to make this a four-way battle. You have three Ford racing cars up here with two Sector 5 cars up here in the top six. Chris Sherburne and Michael Lane, it's a seven-car top pack here. This could be interesting as well, as we got two teams battling it out up here.
We are getting down to nitty-gritty time here at Daytona. A lot of these cars that have been further back in the pack are now thinking, all right, this is my shot. I've got to make it now, or we're not going to be there at the end. And that's where you see this 128 emerge, the 350 of Greg McEnany. He's coming up as well.
Certainly, and we'll take a look back here. There is the 16 of Kyle Hendricks. And unfortunately, the miracle ride appears to be over as he heads into turn 3 and 4 at 188 miles an hour. Now, that seems incredibly quick. But going down the straightaway here, this top group here is hitting at about 210, 208, 209, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, just a kiss, 217 miles an hour. Did Halleck going into turn number 3. That will put a nail in the 16's race.
You saw there going into turn 3, the 42 of Gargano gave Halleck a shot going into the corner, which pushed him up the racetrack, which allowed Gargano to go back to the race lead here into lap 166.
Might not be too bad, because that Ford Racing number 033 of Osowski is right there, waiting to help out Halleck if he needs it. Unfortunately, Halleck is going to be stuck to the outside. Again, still not too bad, because Greg McEnany's there, another Ford Racing team member.
Well, it looks like the 42 of David Gargano moved up the track in order to block the 3. Must have thought he was going to get a run. He did not, but that opened the door for the 033 of Osowski to take the race lead down the front straightaway.
And Osowski just completely walked away with the GTE class at the Daytona 2.4 hours last month. He now has a chance to walk away with the Daytona 500 and go 2 for 2 on the season so far. Again, the GTE class wasn't the overall race win. That went to Joey Haynes in the 338 today, getting the overall win a month ago, but still a class win. That counts.
That it does. And Osowski's looking like he's going to be a 2-time winner on the year right now if he can just keep it out front. He's still got over 30 laps, make it 32 at the line, or 33 at the line, excuse me. He's doing the best he can to keep that Ford Racing machine out front.
Getting really close to that wall, coming off of turn 4 and then cutting down in front of his teammate as they head down into the tri-oval. Not an easy quarter to take in these cars. Only 17 degrees of banking in that tri-oval. It can throw you for a loop, especially if you're not prepared for something that the car might do. You're seeing Ford Racing up at the front of this group. The 3 trying to take the push from the 42 of Gargano and will get the push under the 033 to try to battle for the lead.
And it looked like all the 3 was trying to do there was stall the run of Gargano, but coincidentally, he grabbed the run and was not able to get back up behind his teammate in time, which may, in fact, split up these two Ford Racing cars here.
Yep, and as I was just saying, we see 2 Ford Racing cars up at the front of this group. At the back of this group are 2 Sector 5 cars. That's Chris Sherburne and Michael Lane. These 2 have been line astern pretty much the entire race here tonight. That 135 is about as clean as it rolled off the trailer. He has done a fantastic job of keeping the car out of the wall and out of trouble tonight.
He has, in fact, back up in the front of the race. The 033 making a charge on the outside all by his lonesome. The 128 can't really decide where he wants to go right now. He'll tuck back down in line. We've got a third Ford Racing car about to enter in the mix, though.
Yep, certainly will. Greg McEnany has been sitting there just biding his time in that 5th position in the 350 Ford machine, running there in the 5th spot. Beyond this group here, you have to go back 5.5 seconds before you find the 8th position. Now this group is strung out, but it's in a line and being led by another Sector 5 car. That would be Robert Gamble in the 48, one of the Chevys in a sea of Fords as well.
Robert Gamble, a quietly productive and solid run here. A bunch of his teammates have been in a mess of trouble all night, but he's managed to keep the car clean, leading the second pack of cars. Again, as you said, all strung out, but they could easily make an insurmountable charge towards the front as we get later on in this race.
And the front of the pack has now started to string out as well. They've gone single file. The 3 of Halleck has taken the race lead. Osowski has fallen back in line into 3rd, and you can see that second group way in the back there, as there is a blinker in this group. Michael Lane, who is at the tail end of this group in the 62, having some connection issues. And now you have, again, 2 Forge cars running line astern at the bottom line here. That is the 3 being pushed by the 033. And unfortunately for Greg McInerney, not close enough to get up with his teammates, as the 62 is having some major connection issues right now.
That he is. We'll try to get him to figure that out momentarily, but as you were talking about the front group spreading out, that 42 of Gargano jumped to the outside. He's got to run down the back straightaway. He might make this pass. If it doesn't hold up into turn number 3, not quite going to make it happen, as they're going to go side by side into turn 3.
Halleck was either trying to catch the car going down the racetrack, or he was trying to put a block on his teammate Osowski. We're inside of 30 laps to go here in what has been an incredible 1987 Daytona 500. These cars have put on one heck of a show tonight, as we expected them to. Look at how sideways that 3 is coming through the tri-oval, and keeps that speed up over 200 miles an hour. We're riding on board. This is Ethan Osowski. Second car in line on the inside line, running in the 2nd position now. Once we get out of the corner here, we'll throw on that dashboard to show you just how quick these guys are running here. Coming out of turn 4, they're running 200 miles an hour, 205 at the start-finish line. That is incredible speeds here in such old race cars, that it's all thanks to no restrictor plate.
Well, we see here the top 3 cars continue to just trade positions back and forth. But if you look at 4th and 5th in 4th and 5th in Joshua Mertz and Greg McInerney, they haven't made up or lost any ground on this top 3 group.
They are just quietly riding, as Michael Lane has now figured out his connection issues. Still at the back of this group, running in the 7th position. And look who is leading this group. However, they're coming up to lap him instead of trying to keep a lap. That is Hendricks.
Again, it was a tough break for Hendricks during that last caution, getting caught up with that 6th car. But he did put up a valiant effort here tonight, and we applaud him for all of that. Just a little worse for wear going back to the trailer after this race.
Absolutely. Had, without a doubt, the fastest car tonight, as we see another one of the Forge Racing cars down on the inside line. That was Rob Deloche in the 235. That was slow on the inside. Forge Racing brought in 5 cars here tonight, 3 of those 5 being in the top 5 right now, 4 of them being Fords.
And right now we see 2 cars that are beginning to make their way up into this mix. The 2 teammates, Chris Sherburne and Michael Lane, they're looking bad fast right now, and they might put their names in this hat before it's all said and done.
Yep, certainly. See this top 3 now starting to break away just a little bit up here at the front of this field. Mertz is keeping in touch with them. He's keeping a little bit closer touch with them than McInerney is. And then right behind them, again, the 2 Sector 5 cars. 24 laps to go as we hit the line here in the 1987 Daytona 500. Robert Gamble still leading that second group here, As we look back, this is 8th position all the way back to 13th. And at the back end of this group is a man who we've spoken a lot about tonight, Mark Mcfadden. At the back end of this group now trying to get past Gerard Gilbert. That is the 12th position that McFadden's about to get. He might still have a car that can win this thing if he can get a caution here.
That's the big factor here, is if he can get a caution with these cars. It's doable, but with this caliber of driver, they're all just trying to make it to the end here. So I'm not going to hedge my bets on a caution if I was Mark McFadden.
It's the 69 of Matt Gelder trying to take the lead of this group. He is not for position. Gelder running in 16th spot, 1 lap down at this late stage. Back up front, no lapped cars in this lead pack. These 7 drivers are for the top 7 positions as Brian Halleck currently leads the way, 22 laps to go. Ethan Osowski running in 2nd, David Gargano in 3rd.
And to me right now, it looks like these 2 Sector 5 cars back behind them, they're just kind of biding their time. They know, hey, we got about 20 laps to go. We can just ride back here for another 10 or so and then make our push to the front and try to claim victory here tonight. You see that 033 gets a little loose out of turn 2, allowing the 42 to the inside, but shuts the door right back on him.
Yep, somebody who got a little bit more loose than him, however, was Robert Gamble, I believe, coming out of turn 4. We're going to see it here. Yep, got a big slide on. The 69 got into the wall. Goes through the grass in the tri-oval. No caution for either incident. So the 48 goes from leading that second pack to being all the way at the back of it now in the 13th position. So that was a very unfortunate time for that to happen. However, does have some time to try to catch back up.
Coming up on 20 laps to go this time by. We here at ESPN, we want to hear from you guys, the fans out there watching this. Who do you have winning this Daytona 500 in these last 20 laps? We see you all out there in the crowd. We want to know who you think is going to take home the hardware here tonight.
Yep, absolutely. Whether you're in the YouTube chat or in the Facebook chat, please tell us who your pick is. Who do you think is going to win tonight's Daytona 500 as we get down to 20 laps to go? Only 3 of the 5 Forge Racing entries up at the front of this field. And you saw there Chevrolet doing what Chevrolet does, being as gentlemanly as possible. We're starting the Ford versus Chevy jabs up here already. This is a good sign.
That we are. I'm sorry. I just had to take a moment to laugh at that. But the 42 is taking gentle jabs at the 033 in front of him. But the 033 continues to show Ford dominance and lead over that 42 with another Ford in front of him leading the race.
Yep, as of right now, 8 of the first 9 positions, 7 of the top 10 are Fords right now. 3rd, 9th, and 10th right now, currently running Chevrolets here in this top 10. So it has been a Ford night after the Chevys took themselves out early. Wanted to give them a chance, you see.
They did want to give them a chance. That's right. Well, you look at the last, say, 100 laps of this race, the 42 of Gargano has seemed to be the fastest car besides that 16. But right now, he's just being suppressed by those 2 Ford racing cars in front of him. Is he going to be able to mount a charge on the outside? Only time will tell as we work into lap 183 here.
Lucky for those leaders. Again, that's a Ford racing car. That's Maurice Camillion in the 44 that is allowing them through. Again, the gentlemanly Chevy driver. And now that will be another Ford racing team member of Rob Deloche, allowing them to go through here. Those 2 Ford teammates, they're going to be working together for now, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, it is every man for himself.
It's always been an omen in racing. We're teammates until the last lap. And until the last lap, it looks like Halleck's going to continue to have this push from Osowski. But I'll tell you now, 1 lap to go, that white flag waves, the gloves are off from the 033.
Absolutely. This pack here also is going to start to get a little bit closer as the race goes on here. We get down into it. We're 17 laps to go here. Don't expect those 2 Sector 5 cars who have been hanging out at the back of this front group ever since the restart to be as cordial as we get down to it here.
But it could be a great master plan from Forge Racing. They have that 1 car back there, the 350 of Greg McEnany. If he can somehow stall the run of those 2 Sector 5 cars whenever they decide it's time to make their run, we may be in for a Forge Racing dominance here tonight.
It absolutely could be. Wouldn't that be something to see Forge Racing 1, 2, and 3 taking up all the podium positions here tonight, thus getting all the interviews here tonight. We'll be hearing from the top 3 at the conclusion of this race. Brian Halleck currently leading, Ethan Osowski, David Gargano, and we've kind of sat in line here for the last dozen laps or so. Not too much battling after the 33 got around the 42.
And even as you take a look through your field, nothing much happening right now. Everybody's sort of single filed out. We even take a look back at 24th position, Joseph Homan, his little pack there with Mark McFadden included. They're all single filed out. They're not doing too much. So we're right now, it looks like these cars are just trying to make it to that 10 lap to go signal.
Brian Scrivener and Justin Garrick, their 2 teammates leading this group here. A couple of lap cars sprinkled into this group. You see the 119 of Jason McSparron trying to block Mark McFadden. That is for position. These 4 guys up here at the front of this group are for position as we get down to it. The highest these guys can get to is 8th position right now. A caution could bring them up a lot closer. And we were talking before, that 00 still looks really racy. He could have a chance at a win if a caution comes out here.
He very well could. That's a big if the caution comes out. You look back up at the front, that 42, he looked to want to surmount a charge to the outside. Instantly was blocked off by the 033, so he had to fall back in line. These Forge teammates are working very, very well at the front of the pack.
Osowski playing 2 roles here, both as pusher for the 3 of Brian Halleck and as rear gunner for the 3 of Brian Halleck, trying to keep that 42 at bay. 42 taking a little bit of a peek, going to the outside of turn 1. And remember, we do have a pit stop here left to take in these last 10 laps, so this could get absolutely bonkers.
That will throw a big wrench into the game here. When will Halleck and Osowski pit? Does Gargano follow him in at the same time? A lot of questions are left to be answered.
The longest anyone was able to go was 41 laps on a tank of fuel, and there you see all these guys came in with on lap 147. So more than 50 laps to go. That's more than 20 laps longer than these cars could take. Now, we have had some cautions in the mix here to extend that fuel life, so all these guys are going to need is a splash and go, no tires on any of these guys just to make it to the end of the race here. And these last 10 laps are going to get pretty hectic.
That they will, but when do we see the first people pit? It's going to be the big question. And does everybody pit at the same time? A lot of factors are still going to go into this race. Halleck continues to lead over Osowski and Gargano. Gargano just continuously tries to peak, but every time he peaks, he's met with a block by the 033.
Yeah, that 033 is looking more out the back of that car than he is the front there in that Forge Racing machine. These guys behind them, though, Mertz, McEnany, Sherburne, Lane, they are giving them plenty of space to race it out, and just in case something happens, giving them enough space to try to avoid what happens in front of them. But these guys, once we start getting a little bit closer here to the end of this race, they're certainly going to pick up the pace and try to be right on these guys, especially with pit stops looming. And here they come.
It looks like everybody and their mama going to come down to pit road for one final time. What's going to happen? Splash and goes all the way around. Can Halleck and Osowski stay with each other? Can they block off the 42 from getting in and out quickly? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, the 033 blew his pit stall, went too far. The 3 is taking tires. Everybody else, well, the 42 and the 128 went fuel only. The 3 goes with 2 tires. Everybody else goes with 2 tires. That could be a major key. You've just put the fastest car in the group out in front.
David Gargano Jr. just threw the biggest wrench that he could into this entire thing, and he has run away with the race lead.
Now, Gargano, that was only his 8th pit stop, so he does have full tire sets left here as the 70 of Scrivener and his teammate Justin Garrick, those guys are in the race lead. Now, a thing about those two, they came in on lap 158. That is really pushing it. These guys might be trying to save. They could make it the rest of the way on fuel.
It could be an absolute master plan from Brian Scrivener and his teammate behind him, as he's been one of those drivers that all day long has been hanging around mid-pack, hasn't really made a charge per se, but all of a sudden finds himself in the catbird seat for a win here tonight.
And you know they're smart because they're wearing bow ties, and those are not easy to tie, so you figure they had some sort of strategy plan up their sleeve, as now the 73, that is Gerard Gilbert, splitting those two up.
Well, one of them may be wearing bow ties, but the other one has an oval on the front of it.
Well, no. They're paint schemes. They're bow ties. They're suits with bow ties. Or are we not?
I had to put my glasses on. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Got you. That's what I'm here for. So now we saw this on Thursday night with the USRA Cup Series. Guys came into pit, had a massive gap to try to overcome. Just to visualize the gap here, we're going to put up this track map here with the position that these guys are running in. One is coming out of turn 2 up at the top of the screen. Look at where 3 is, third position. He is coming to the start-finish line now. A little bit more than half a track is your visual representation of first to from second to third here on this racetrack with about 7 laps to go. With 7 laps to go, coming to 6.
Did Brian Scriver and Justin Garrick pull the wool over everybody else's head? Did they pit at just the right time? Dude, we've got 6 laps to find out. It's going to be mighty close for both of those drivers.
And that would be the 41 laps. And you could see Scrivener. I would have to assume that Scrivener feels as though he has saved enough fuel, because he is starting to march away from his teammate, Justin Garrick. That gap now we saw when we picked those two up, they were running nose to tail. There's now 1.2 seconds separating the 70 and the 31. Maybe, just maybe, Scrivener did a better job at saving fuel than the 31 did.
A long race and a great pit strategy apparently from Scrivener brings him to 5 to go, leading this race. Boy, oh boy, what a night it's been.
It certainly has been one heck of a 1987 Daytona 500. Looking back a little bit further, this is the battle for the third position as David Gargano is trying to hold off Joshua Mertz. Now those two guys, both Gargano and Mertz, took fuel only on that last pit stop. Behind them is the 27 of Casey Sawtek, who also is trying to make it the rest of the way. He came in on lap 158 with Scrivener and Garrick. So he is trying to hold on. Beyond that is Brian Halleck, who has 1.2 seconds over the 2 Sector 5 cars. There is a 7.5 second gap between the 3 and the 42. That is the difference between between no tires and 2 tires on pit road here.
That is exactly right. And we just continue to wonder, does Scrivener have enough gas? He's got a 0.8 second advantage to his own teammate, and then 22.
He's coming in.
He's coming to pit road.
Garrick is not coming in. Garrick stays out. So with 3 laps to go, Scrivener gives it away.
Garrick may have fooled his own teammate there, and it might result in a win.
Now you can clutch these cars here. You do have to clutch them to up and down shift. I don't know how successfully you can clutch a car. That's more of a speedway, a short track tactic to clutch the car, essentially to shut the motor off. But here at Daytona, I don't know how good a strategy that would be. Looking at the last 2 lap times, we're going to put those up on the screen right now. Garrick ran a 44.7. I think he's coming into pit road now. He is. Justin Garrick into pit road. If they would have pit just a couple laps later, they would have made it.
Insane, the turnaround here at Daytona. He only had 2 laps to seal the deal.
And with that, this is your battle for the race win here between David Gargano and Joshua Mertz, with 2 more circuits of this 2.5-mile track to go. Gargano leading. It is a 2-horse race up at the front.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not take your eyes off of this battle for the lead. We want to know who you think is going to pull this one out. Is David Gargano going to seal the deal? Does Joshua Mertz have enough to do it? We're on lap 199. You know what that means, Frank.
Yep, certainly does. White flag coming out. And I think you were trying to say take your eyes closer to the screen because you're not going to want to miss it. I think that's what you were going for there, right?
That's pretty much where I was going.
Lap 200 upcoming here. It is a 2-horse race up at the front. Gargano and Mertz. Can Mertz get the run coming off of turn 2 that he needs to take the fight down the back straightaway? Here he comes. Mertz looks to the inside, now peeks to the outside. Gargano is going to hold that inside lane. They are side by side going into turn 3. Pushing up the track, just needs to get a little bit further in front. Gargano holds that inside lane. The momentum swing on the outside. They collide. They're spinning through the grass. Joshua Mertz is going to win the race. Gargano flips over the line in second. What a finish.
An absolute classic finish at the line there. Well, not even at the line, at the tri-oval. Joshua Mertz and Gargano make contact, and Gargano finishes the race in second on his lid.
Unbelievable. The 1 lap Joshua Mertz has led all night. And the most important one. What a finish.
Absolutely amazing.
We'll certainly go back and look at that finish, but what a run from both Joshua Mertz and David Gargano, and the winning move easily for both of these drivers. Forget about what happened coming off of turn 4. Easily the winning move for these drivers was going with fuel only instead of taking tires going into the final, going out of the final lap, or the pit stop rather.
And even how about past them, Chris Sherburne doing amazingly to pull into 3rd place away from his teammate, in fact. Got away from him after that last pit stop, and he rounds out your top 3.
Chris Sherburne, you're right, does come across the line in the 3rd position. Brian Halleck had that position going into the final lap, could not hold it in the 3. But what an incredible drive tonight by these drivers. And before we get into the interviews, we'll hear from the top 3 tonight. We got to take a look at that again. That was an unbelievable
Absolutely.
finish. So let's take a look here at the final, about half a lap coming through the final corner. We'll see it from overhead. Boy, just the run that the 028 got. They bounced off of each other, and then the 028, just with very little control over his car, bouncing off the wall into the 42. And that was one heck of a finish. We'll ride on board. This is with Gargano here. You're going to see that 028 come around the outside. Just see him right there. A little bit of contact. Gets in the grass. Crosses the line on his lid. And then gets a punt for his trouble. But boy, that was one heck of a show at the end of this race. My goodness.
Daytona never fails us, Frank. It never fails us.
Oh, it certainly does not. And we will get a word in with our winner right now. Joshua Mertz, driver of the 128. What a move. One lap led all night, and it was the most important.
Money lap.
Walk us through that last pit stop, because that's really the winning move for you. By not taking any tires, just putting enough fuel in to finish the race. Was it fuel only the whole way, or were you thinking about taking tires?
Fuel only the whole way. I need about 4 or 5 gallons. So me and the 42 had the same. I guess we had the same strategy. No tires, and then I guess the other two Ford guys, they ended up taking tires, and we got the finish we got.
Yeah, certainly did, and it was one heck of a finish. Walk us through now that final lap as you're setting him up, obviously, for that move. Got the great run coming out of turn 2. Were you concerned at all about the car pushing into the wall coming out of turn 4 and just completely killing the race?
In the whole race, every time I entered turn 3 high, I always slid up into the wall. But that was the first time it finally stuck when I needed it to. And I thought both of us were going to come together in 3 and 4 and not, off the corner like we did. And it was a great finish.
It certainly was. I mean, you wish it was a little bit cleaner than that, but it was one heck of a finish. My good, we're still trying to recover from it up here. Tell us about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm still shaking from it.
Tell us about your race, though. Mired in the middle of the field for a vast majority of the race, dodging accidents left and right. You get up to the front of the field with about 50 laps to go, and you manage to stay there and put yourself in this position to win the race. What was it like handling these cars in the middle of this big pack like this?
It was definitely a workout. You had to carry your own car, watch what other cars were doing, because these cars are definitely a handful at this track. I can only imagine how hard these cars would be at the old Daytona.
Yeah, they're certainly not fun to drive. Going into the next round of the season, it's going to be a completely different car, completely different discipline, completely different track. We go to the Long Beach circuit in the 1979 Formula One Lotus on the 14th of March. What are your expectations for that race?
Considering I haven't raced that track or that car, my expectations really aren't that great, but I'll give it my all. It'll be an experience.
That's why you take advantage of these when you get them, right?
Yeah, there'll be a lot of practice leading up to it.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go and celebrate this victory?
Yes. The person this is all for, John King.
Absolutely.
Prayers for him.
All right, so there is your race winner here tonight, Joshua Mertz, in dramatic fashion. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so there was your race winner, Joshua Mertz. We will go down to our second place finisher here in just a moment. That would be David Gargano, as I believe, Ryan, you are with David.
How's it going?
How's it going, David?
Pretty good. Just got
A
done getting
very-
upside down.
Yes, sir. A very fast race car for you all night long. You seem to have the car to beat when you were out by yourself, but right there at the end, Joshua Mertz was able to get by you. Well,
Yeah,
you did come together. What were
For
you
sure.
thinking during that time period?
well, I knew with like 10 to go we were gonna have to pit, so I kind of pitted with that front group there, and it looked like me and Josh got the upper hands on the pit stops. Because when we came out, we were pretty much I was up front, and he caught me pretty quick, and we were just kind of I knew it was gonna be a battle between us two, and I knew like having the draft would be an advantage for him, but I was pretty confident on the bottom line, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and came up just short, but you know, it's not a bad start. Well, not a
You
bad
did
end to
have-
a race, at least after a long race.
Oh, yeah, it was an amazing race from you and your other competitors all night long. A long, grueling 200 laps. Before we let you go and celebrate tonight, who would you like to thank for helping you?
Well, I just got to thank my team, Vengeance Motorsports. We're pretty much brand new this year, and you know, I think we have a good team. We have a good chance of moving forward pretty positively, and of course, the race was for John King, so it's in memory of him. I mean, well, it's for him. Sport race for him, and yeah, that was a pretty good night. I'm excited for it, even though I finished second.
Well,
One-
we'll let you go ahead and get
This
on
is-
and celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, that was your second place finisher tonight, Mr. David Gargano Jr.
Thank you.
All right, so that was your second place finisher, Mr. Gargano. Not sure if we're going to get Chris Sherburne in here. Hopefully we can for his third place interview tonight. We'll give it a second here. But boy, just an unbelievable race from start to finish. We had so much fun calling this race here tonight, and just to get the finish that we got, that was just the absolute icing on the cake.
It was an absolute blast watching, especially my favorite part of it all was watching the 16 car all night long, just crawling and clawing to get all of his laps back. And as soon as he got there, disaster struck for him, but that opened up the race to the man that won it all, Joshua Mertz.
Yeah, it absolutely did. As we'll try to see if we can get Sherburne in here for his third place interview. If not, we will go to the results and call it an evening. Well, you know what? While we're waiting, we'll go to the results here now. As it sits, so let's do exactly that. So our final results here for tonight's race, let's get that out of the way. Joshua Mertz takes the victory here tonight. David Gargano Jr. coming home in second. Chris Sherburne, who we're hoping to get a word with, rounding out the podium positions here for tonight's race. Brian Halleck, Ethan Oswowski coming home and rounding out the top five. Brian Scrivener, Justin Garrick. Boy, we thought they had the strategy, just came up a couple laps short to win this race. Gerard Gilbert coming home in eighth. Mark Mcfadden, who had a fantastic run all night long, comes home in ninth. Robert Gamble in 10th. Jason McSparron coming home in 11th position in the 119. Greg McEnany, who we saw up there in the top five group, finishes as the final car on the lead lap in 12th position. Michael Lane coming home in 13th. Casey Sawtek in 14th. 15th going to Rob Courtney. And Kyle Hendricks coming home in 16th. Ryan.
17th finisher on the night was Maurice Gamillion. 18th was Matt Gelder. 19th, Robert Deloach. 20th went to Robert Covey. 21st went to Gustavo Sienforini. 22nd was Joseph Homan. 23rd was Vince Harley. 24th was Joey Haynes. 25th, Stephen Paulison. 26th was Taylor Burris. 27th went to Spencer Todd, who was up front all the beginning of the race and just had a terrible end to his race. 28th went to Ozzy Milwane, and rounding out your field was the 002 of Bryson Shoot.
So that will be your finishing order here, and we will get a word in now with our third place finisher as we go now to the driver of the 135, Chris Sherburne. Chris, you were with your team pretty much the entire race. Talk us through how your race strategy was.
Well, first and foremost, just wanted to stay out of trouble, hang at the back, and let the mayhem unfold, and yeah, try to stay out of it.
You took, if I remember correctly, you guys took just fuel on that last pit stop. Were you considering tires at all, or was it just fuel the whole way?
Nope, we're just fuel. I only had, I think it was going to be about a little over a 60-lap run to the end, so knew the tires would hold out because wasn't pushing it too terribly hard, trying to save fuel in the hopes for a yellow that didn't happen.
Yeah, and you were just able to get around Brian Halleck at the line. We're showing that replay here now, hopefully. How were you able to set up that move and work that move? Because you pretty much did exactly what happened for the race win, except both of you guys come across the line facing forward.
Luck. Trying to get around was dealing with a lap car at the start of the lap, and I knew I needed to clear him getting onto the back straight to hopefully get a tow. Then I assumed Brian was going to cover the inside because, well, that's what I would have done. And sure enough, he covered the inside, and, well, let's see if it sticks on the outside.
And you beat him by 0.02 of a second at the line, so an absolutely fantastic job there. We just saw the close finish on the replay there. We'd missed it live. We are off for a couple of weeks. March 14th is the next time we're back. We're taking the 1979 Formula One Lotus around Long Beach. What are your thoughts going into the next round?
Looking forward to it. I'm a roadie. I'm out of my element driving around in circles, so I got to give a big shout out to the Sector 5 crew, especially the guys running in Sportsman, Mike Lane for the setup, and Robert and Steven for giving me some pointers for what the heck I needed to do. But yeah, going to the Lotus 79 at Long Beach. I love street courses. Kind of moving back to my element.
All right, anybody else you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Thoughts are with John King. Haven't had much personal interaction with him, but he's been a pillar of the majors community. So it does hit hard. And shout out to Brian Bennett for organizing our little motley crew. It's been a lot of fun.
And you guys put on one heck of a show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, your third place finisher tonight, Chris Sherburne. Congratulations, bud.
Cheers.
All right, so that will do it for the race here tonight, for the broadcast as well, as we get ready to close tonight out. Remember, if you enjoyed tonight's broadcast and you want to see more from ESPN, tomorrow night will be the Rowdy Energy Cup Series, their second round of the season from the road course here at Daytona. Tuesday night will be the Western States Racing League running their 45th season. They will head to Texas, for round number 7 of the season. Nothing on Wednesday night, and then we'll give you a double dip on Thursday night with the USRA Cup Series at Phoenix, their third to last race of the season. And then at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time will be the DOB 410 Sprint Car Series from Williams Grove, and you will hear Ryan in the booth for that one. So for my broadcast partner, Ryan Williams, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Be sure to like the stream on both Facebook and on YouTube, and subscribe to us on YouTube if you really enjoyed the evening. Help us reach our goal of 1,500 subscribers. We are just on the brink of hitting 1,400. 1,400. So we are not that far away. So please, please, please help us hit that goal. So for my broadcast partner, Ryan Williams, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. Congratulations to Joshua Mertz on winning the 1987 Daytona 500 Round 2 for the Major Series American Sportsman Division. Good night, everybody.